Nina, never been a fan of clumpets. All about that R.I.P. for all of my Jesus gone departed. All about that business, what I started. I'm about that.
Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we move heavy. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we move heavy. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
Know that I'm about it. Want a man I can bring the drama. But it ain't by chance to fucking rapping. You don't really want a problem. Made a little cash in the back end, but still rap like homie starving. Yeah, y'all ain't gonna ask who the man is. Hope I'm gonna be like, beg your pardon. I'm about that.
Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we move heavy. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Top down, like you're not ready. We ride, we move heavy. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the Power Hour. I'm host Anthony Hartwig. Thank you so much for joining in and across the table today. We have Rick Daly coming back to us on a Thursday edition.
What's going on?
Tristan Reynolds, as always, and Richie Giuliano making his Power Hour debut. Guys, how we doing on a Thursday edition?
Awesome.
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Glad to be here.
So the big news that broke yesterday is that Class B, we knew it was coming back, but they finally released the schedule for the 18U. The schedule's out. And let's talk a little bit of Class B baseball. Richie, you have some great points. You called a lot of games at Scene Park last year. What kind of things are you expecting from the Class B season now that you know what the schedule kind of looks like?
Well, I'm expecting, first off, that every age group from 14 up to 18 will get a spotlight on YSN, and that's big for the kids, that's big for us, and I think that's big for the family members because those who don't want to come to the ballpark due to the coronavirus and everything going on have the ability to watch their kid all game, all day long on YSN. So I think that's one big thing, that each level gets a spotlight. The next big thing is that parents, now that they're doing each individual age group on a certain day, they don't have to worry about their work time because they would have to bring their kids early to the ballpark if they were going to play every age group in one day. So I'm glad they split it up each day and that the start times are about 5:30.
When you talk about that, and a lot of parents, now that we're starting to kind of reopen the state gradually, a lot of parents are starting to go back to work, and they're not in a position where they can take days off like they normally would be. So that's going to be a big kind of tool that Class B is going to be using, as you brought up.
Yeah, and another big thing about the parents is the 2-hour time limit that they're going to install this year. And I think that's something that Class B could actually learn from, and they might develop that and use it later on in the next couple of years because there's a lot of times where games, especially the 8:30 start times, they don't end until 12 o'clock, 12:30, and parents have to get up and they have to work in the morning. So, for them to be done by 10:30, get home at a respectable time, they have the ability to wake up and have a good work day the next day.
And I know a lot of people, when they heard that 2-hour thing, they thought to themselves that, what about the games that go a little bit longer than 2 hours? But you have to remember, one, if an inning is being played and the 2-hour clock stops, they'll finish that inning. So it's not like it's not a drop dead time. And two, we had Steve Leslie on the other day, and he said that, the average time for a Class B game is about an hour and 50 minutes. So the average kind of falls within that 2 hours. So you guys think 2 hours is pretty reasonable to finish a Class B game, right?
Yeah, I do, and I think it keeps everything on time as well because when you're playing over 2 hours, then that 8 o'clock game could get pushed back to 9 o'clock and so on. So I think to have a time limit, to have everything scheduled out, I like the way that they set up that 2-hour time limit.
Tristan, you played Class B back in the day in 2009?
2009.
What kind of changes have you seen in Class B since when you played to what it is now?
Biggest thing is teams. I was throwing out teams, and you guys didn't even recognize any of the teams. Rondinelli Tuxedo was back. That was the team back in the day. Now I don't even know if they exist at all. But right around when I was playing, it started to change. And it's still big, but like the Glaciers and that they started, getting big. And then B ball was still big and started going away. And then now it's back. I feel like B baseball, up at Scene Park is bigger than it's ever been. We got kids from Cressy that go play there. When I was at Palestine, we were sending kids to go play there. And that's just, two schools that I've been a part of, so I can only imagine what all these kids just going left and right and playing up there. So I know it's as big as it's ever been, and part of that is I caught a lot of the games last year on YSN, and it's just there's a lot going on. It just seems like there's something going on every minute of every day up there, and it's awesome. So I mean, I really can't touch on it too much because it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute since I've been up there, but I think it's huge. I mean, that's and it a little bit changed, I guess, but other than that.
Rick, you're a parent. I know your daughter plays softball, but softball, baseball, the time constraints is kind of the same kind of thing. Where as a parent, and all the things that Richie brought up on, the time framing, helping the parents out, how much do you kind of appreciate that?
Well, you do appreciate it, but at the same time, I mean, going in that even though they set these guidelines and they have this stuff set up, that it's not always going to be perfect. Because there's been tournaments that we've been to that, they have similar rule sets and even sometimes a lower time frame because they're trying to squeeze in more games. But with the non-drop dead time limit rule where they have to finish the inning, sometimes those innings drag out a lot longer than you think. And still everything ends up being pushed back a little bit. I think with a game like this, it's almost impossible to come up with anything to where you can say, okay, here's the schedule, games at 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, whatever, and actually be on time for everything. But the fact that they're trying to do this, I mean, obviously as a parent, you don't, like he touched on, you don't want to be getting home at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning and having to turn around and get up at 6 o'clock and go to work. So for them trying to get out earlier, as a parent, I applaud that.
And the other thing that came out, they're still going to have playoffs. So, Richie, we talked about that off the air, how big that is. And, these kids will still have the feeling that they're fighting for something, they're playing for something, and they still have the opportunity to go and win something.
Now, does time limit go into playoffs? Or they lift it for playoffs and just would play out the game?
I'm not too sure on that, but I would guess that they would probably lift the 2-hour time limit for the playoffs because
makes sense.
That's the biggest time of the year. They're going to play best of threes. I do know that, so that'll be
that's
big.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
awesome. They might be a as you come thing, like it might be a 2-hour time limit, like if the team's up by a set amount of runs.
Yeah.
To just kind of sweep things away. But if a game's tied, obviously they're not going to be like, drop it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It is
but what kind of emphasis does that put where the kids they can still go out and play for something? It's not just going out and playing baseball. You're playing for a playoff spot. You're playing for a championship.
I think that's the biggest thing that you touched on, that you have a goal at the end of the season. Every team wants a goal. It's fun to just go out and play baseball, but once you get competitive and once you have a mindset and a goal to reach that championship and to win the Class B league, it's the best thing that you could do for a league.
And you called a lot of games last season. What are some teams to kind of watch out for as we talk playoffs, we talk the season? I mean, Astro Falcons were so impressive last season. Do you think they're going to just kind of clean the table again?
Yeah, I think Astro would definitely be at the top of my list for some of the best teams returning. They always find a way to go out and recruit pitchers, and I don't know how they do it, but they get these guys that come in, they'll throw a game, and you won't see them for the next few days, and these kids are good. I mean, they got D1 offers. They could hit the upper 80s, low 90s, and it's just impressive that, Astro Falcons have built a name where there's big-time kids that are committed to D1 schools that'll come pitch for them a couple times. So I got the Astro Falcons at the top of my list for the front runners to win the Class B league.
Now, when you say they come in, occasionally, so like it could be a kid from a different state coming in and playing.
Oh yeah, they get kids that come from Pennsylvania all the time. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
They get big names that come in and throw, and they'll use them for a game or two, and that's all they need. It gets them work and it gets them the win. So
absolutely.
Win-win situation.
Yeah.
Who were some other teams you saw last season that you thought could be competitive and could really do some damage this year?
I saw last year Dura Edge was pretty solid with O'Shaughnessy. They had a couple other kids, but they obviously lose them after this year, so they're going to have a rebuilding year a little bit. And I like Dura Edge, I like Astro, and there's a couple new teams that are coming in this year, so those two would be at the top of my list for the 18U division.
Yeah, one of the new teams is the Ballistic Baseball team that our intern Trey kind of plays on from.
Yeah, he's high on them, man. He said don't sleep on them. So.
And anytime a baseball team calls themselves ballistic, I mean that they're shooting bullets.
I don't know. I don't know too much. Like I said, too much about it right now. It's been a while since I followed it up there, but he's high on him. He said don't sleep on us. So I don't know.
Yeah, mean, any expansion kind of team that's coming into the league, you don't have a book on them, so you gotta kind of.
But at the end of the day, I think baseball's baseball. You roll the ball out and go ahead and play.
What are some of the other things about Class B returning, Richie, that you're really excited about?
Well, first off, it's just sports coming back in general. I mean,
absolutely.
you got to applaud the Youngstown Class B Baseball League for saying we're gonna have a season. I mean, there's not a lot of leagues around here. I know even a lot of collegiate leagues that I was looking around, they've canceled their season, and it's just big that these kids get to go out, they get to play baseball, and they get to get away from their rooms.
Yeah.
And they get to get away from their houses and go and do something they enjoy. So I'm happy for the kids. I'm happy that baseball is back. It's my favorite sport, and I'm just excited in general to be back down at Seton Park this year.
There's something about Ohio. I was supposed to go play in a softball tournament in Kentucky, got canceled. Then I went to some other state, Maryland maybe, got canceled. Mm-hmm. They came all the way to Warren, Ohio. We were playing on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So there's something about Ohio, man. We're just like, hey, let's just go play. Let's just go figure it out.
Let's just do it. Just do the thing.
And for the most part, I think they're figuring it out. I mean, you can't always have the answers for this stuff, but like he said, I mean, it's awesome that Class B up there in Youngstown, they figured it out. And
I want to get your thoughts on this too, all of you guys. They also kind of didn't pull the trigger right away. They said, let's take a beat before we start the season. I mean, the season doesn't start until June 14th. They could have come out and said, let's just start the season this week, because May 26th was the opening point. They could have given the kids a week of practice and said, let's roll and get as many games in as possible. How smart do you think it was to kind of take that knee a little bit and not start the season until June 14th?
Well, I'd say, it was really smart, because first you got to abide by the state's orders. That's the first thing. Second, you got to give these teams, I think, more than a week. It's only fair to give them more than a week of practice. These kids haven't thrown a baseball, some of them in months.
They'll be hanging.
Yeah. And, you don't want injuries to result from that. You want these kids to get back into the regular shape and regular form, and you also want them to get used to throwing, because if you go out there and you throw, 5 innings and those kids haven't thrown in a month and a half, you could have some serious issues with your arm.
And we talked about it. You're going to find out real quick what kids have been working and what kids have been sitting on the couch watching Netflix. And you guys, Rick, you're a coach. Tristan, you coach, not baseball, but you still coach. How quick can you kind of tell kids that aren't coming back and aren't working?
I think it's obvious. Yeah. It's obvious. You can tell. I mean, any sport, whether baseball, basketball, football, track, anything for that matter. If you're not, you can tell the kids have put in the work within like the first week, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder for me because I'm in a younger age group, and I mean those kids just have energy for days. So I mean you can't really tell per se. But the thing is too, those younger kids, they're brutally honest with you, and they'll tell you, I haven't touched a softball in months. Other ones will tell you, yeah, I've been throwing at the tree or whatever else. But I mean, energy-wise, I mean, yeah, their energy levels are just it puts me to shame. Like I get tired watching it, It's like I wish I had that energy, that these kids have. But at the younger scale, as far as skill goes, to me, I mean, it's harder to see. I mean, I've had my girls since they were 5 years old in T-ball. I started them there and brought them up, and now we're would have been in our second year of 10U. So I mean, they've come a long way. But I mean, I always encouraged them to work in their free time and stuff, and some do. I mean, you don't want to force the issue, because even at the younger ages, it's still about them having fun, because if they aren't enjoying it, they won't continue to play. So it's it's a balance between the teaching and the fun aspect for these kids. So that's kind of what we've stressed. But you can't always tell with the little ones. They haven't really fully developed yet.
Do you think that scale between teaching and kind of competing shifts as you get older in age?
Oh yeah, for sure. So with us, it was like a gradual increase, whereas in T-ball it was, just basics, fundamentals. Let's just get them to swing a bat level and attempt to throw the ball. And every year it's, you add a little bit more and you get a little bit harder on them, It's worked out well for us. Like I said, we've had a team for 5 or 6 years now, and just every year it's just you push a little bit more. You don't want to push too much, because then those kids just shut down and everything else. But if you just slowly turn that dial up a little bit each year, you know, the results that we've got, I mean, it's been awesome.
It seems like as sports grow, the talent level at the younger ages is growing more and more. I mean, are you seeing that where all of a sudden we're seeing kids that are, 11, 12-year-olds that are doing things that you wouldn't see an 11, 12-year-old do 10 years ago?
Yes, and I think what a lot of it is attributed to are the outside things that parents can take their kids to. You know, one issue that we've always run into with our team is we've either had 17 or 18 girls or 9 and 10. There's been like no happy medium or like that solid like 12, 13 number that you want to have so you can be switching them out and whatever. So we've either been way overloaded or just barely able to scrape by. But with these kids having resources and the parents having resources to go to a hitting coach or go to a pitching coach, and stuff like that, me as a coach, I know enough to teach a girl to pitch a ball to be dangerous. I don't know enough to mold them, to be a great pitcher. Yep. But for the age group that I'm in, I know enough to teach them how to do it so they can go out and, attempt to. And you guys know 8, 10U, I mean, those games are
Yep.
brutal.
Yeah.
But the resources, I think, have drastically changed in that time frame. Because when you have a team of 16 girls, it's hard to give each one of those kids the proper time they need to teach and coach and everything, because you only get so much practice time, and then when games start, usually they don't practice. So there's a lot there. But when they have those outside opportunities to go to a one-on-one, coaching thing, that's very beneficial for them.
Richie, when you call games, you get them after Rick does. You call games that are 18U, 16U in Class B. Do you see the product of what he's talking about when they get to that age where all of a sudden these kids can do things that 16-year-olds weren't doing 10 years ago?
Oh, definitely. I think one of the biggest things now is the velocity that some of these kids have at such a young age. I mean, they're 17, 18 years old and they're hitting upper 80s. It's phenomenal what these kids have been able to do and been able to grow over the past few years, and just the power that some of these kids have too. I mean, swinging a wood bat, some of them like to swing wood and they drill it a lot farther than a lot of kids swing metal. So I think there's a difference in their power as well as velocity, and that's something you definitely notice and judge on when you're doing an 18U game and a 16U game.
And Class B returns on June 14th.
That's my brother's birthday. Shout out Cameron Reynolds.
Shout out to Cameron Reynolds. But we're excited because all games are going to be on YSN, as you said. And how exciting is that to know that all the teams, all the age groups are all going to be represented on YSN?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You want some balance between each age group. You don't want it to be all 18-year-olds getting everything and all the coverage. And, 14U, they deserve the same amount of coverage as the 18U. And that's big for, like I mentioned earlier, the grandparents that want to stay at home during quarantine. They could also watch their kid on YSN. So I think that's big for both YSN as well as the players at Class B.
Something else too that is beneficial in that regard is, and I mean, obviously you got to get the word out and stuff, but college coaches and stuff can sit and actually watch this.
That's true.
Instead of having to go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To all these different games and tournaments and stuff. I mean, they can physically, have these brought up and watch prospects and evaluate stuff like that.
And that's really big because the NCAA just extended their dead period all the way to July 31st. So coaches can't physically go out and recruit. Nothing's stopping them from turning on YSN and watching it.
Yeah, that's a really good point you made there.
About that. Yeah.
Because that's big, because now I know the strength and conditioning coaches are allowed to do like a virtual workout with players, and they can learn that way, but it's so much different than seeing a player actually play live and in front of your eyes. So that's a good point you made there. I think that's big.
Honestly, with just the technology in general, because think about it, if you're a coach, right? You're going out to these tournaments and everything, 90-degree heat, everything else. Now, you're in the confines of your 70-degree house in the AC with your monitor on, your notepad. You're comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can break it down, rewind
I mean,
it,
I think
break it
this.
down, rewind
I
it.
think this
Yeah.
might be. I mean, potentially could be kind of what more of what the norm is, at least for coaches that are farther out. Like more out west that way. They're not having to travel over here. They could just pick this up, boom, they can watch it.
And if the YSN kind of structure turns into a national thing, we might see recruiting as a whole change, because we might see coaches stop going to physical tournaments and start watching them online.
Yeah. And like he just said, I mean, you could download it and you could watch it as many times as you want. You could critique his swing that way. You could see what he's doing wrong, what he's doing right. And there's a lot of things you could learn off of film.
Pitching
And
lines,
sometimes,
checking
too,
arm slots.
Depending on where they get to sit and how they're watching angle-wise and stuff, I mean, you got the camera, you got a better vantage point there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know our camera's right behind home plate, so
Right.
you really can't get much
Yeah.
of a better
Yeah,
view
exactly.
than what we got.
At scene one, we have the best angle you could possibly
Yeah,
ask for,
it's
because
the
we're in the
most
press
perfect
box
angle.
behind,
Yeah.
see everything. There's nothing that really gets cut off. I mean, I'm excited for
Yeah.
just for sports,
I,
guys.
I do have a different question. It's still about scene part.
Uh-huh.
And my answer is I already know what you guys are gonna say. What is your favorite field? 1, 2, or 3?
Definitely one.
Mine's 3.
Well,
See-
it depends what you're talking. Like if you're talking about like a favorite field to call a game from, then
No,
it's
just-
one, because you're
Oh,
up in
yeah.
the press box. And
Well, no,
my
I
favorite game to just kind of chill out and watch. I'm with Tristan. I kind of like Field 3.
see, like, I just like scene one because for so long when I played down at Class B, like, we were always on 2 or 3.
Okay.
So it's like a privilege almost when you get to
Yeah.
play on scene one. You got the bleachers, you got the big lights, the big press box, and I think once you get to scene one, it feels like you're playing at a minor league park
It
almost.
does, but like scene 3 almost lets you relax.
It does,
and
yeah,
play
it's
ball.
relaxing, yeah.
But you're right though. I mean, when you go to scene 1, because it feels like you're in a minor league park.
Yeah,
For
it's
real.
huge.
Scene 3 has more of that sandlot backyard baseball kind of feel. And
Yeah.
that's what that's what some of the people want when they go to watch 16-year-olds play baseball. They want that kind of sandlot feel. They can put out a lawn chair and sit along the fence like they're watching a high school game.
Now, I just want to throw this out there for anybody in internet land that knows college baseball coaches. Mention to them about watching this to scout prospects. Just saying.
I love it. I love the plug. I love the plug.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to.
Get us out there.
Yeah, you'd be almost not to.
We
Yeah.
talked about it for basketball. It'd be a great idea. I talked about having having kind of, well, this is for high school coaches when they were kind of scouting teams that were on YSN, but having like a coaches bundle, because right now you pay $2.99 per download. So like have coaches be able to pay like $100 a month or whatever, or $100 to get unlimited downloads for the whole season.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's a good idea,
It is,
and
yeah.
Rick brings it up. Coaches might really be utilizing
They would
YSN.
benefit from it
Uh,
because
this
how many
summer.
times do you send a recruiting coach, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but the kid acts like an idiot, and right there you just close your book and you want to
Yeah.
leave,
Yeah.
or it gets thrown out, and it's a wasted trip.
Yeah.
So
But also, how many times you go to watch somebody, but then someone else catches your eye while you're
Yeah.
there,
yeah,
and all of a sudden
But the
you're
other-
watching that guy now instead of that guy.
The other flip side to it, though, is that these schools, a different thing. They have their different scouts. So you got this scout goes here, this scout goes there. The head coach may not necessarily get to see some of these kids. Now with this, they actually can.
Especially this summer when, like we said, the dead period's extended. These coaches aren't even allowed to go out and physically recruit. There's nothing stopping them from turning on YSN and
Yeah.
watching these kids. And it's great baseball at Class B. It's high level. Richie can
Oh, yeah.
amount to that
that's the best
because,
baseball around.
Might be time for a new hashtag.
hey, you got a blog this week. You're the hashtag guru.
I know. None of them are working, so maybe this one will.
Hey, you know what? It's a marathon. You got to keep plugging them, and one of them will hit.
I'm going to find one that sticks someday.
One of them will hit,
Bound and determined.
and then you're gonna be striding like Twitter viral. At YSN Rick, by the way, follow him, and he does a great blog for us every week. I gave you a little plug.
Appreciate it.
Little
Appreciate it.
shout out. There you go. Ain't nothing better than that.
Usually on Fridays.
Usually on Fridays, yeah, that's a good time. Richie, how big is it that they're able to utilize? We talked about the field. They're using every field. So when we were talking early discussions, we thought maybe they'll just use scene one so there's no traffic, but they're able to utilize every field. What kind of things does that open up for Class B?
Well, it definitely opens up the ability to have every age group play on only one day. I think if you tried to jam like an 18U,
Just can't do it.
Yeah, session into one field, you'd have to start at like 9 in the morning. So the ability to use all fields, I don't see a problem with them using every field. I mean, if you're going to use one, you might as well use 2 and 3 because they're spaced out.
And what they are doing to counter that like traffic kind of thing is they're staggering the times.
Yeah.
So if one game starts at 5, the next will start at 5:30. That way, there's no kind of intermingling
There you go. I hear you.
when players are going to one field or another field or another field. So there are staggered times.
Yeah, I mean, the times I don't think have, such big value because they have 2 big parking lots. I mean, they have, a lot.
Huge.
They have space everywhere. I don't think the times really have like a big value. I just think it's the ability to use all 3 fields. That's the biggest thing about what Scene's doing.
Well, the biggest thing on everyone's mind is the concession stand and what it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
look like. Because nothing beats the Scene Park concession stand. What's your favorite thing to kind of grab?
My favorite thing is definitely the chicken wrap. And,
Yes.
in between double headers, which is what's nice up in the press box, we call down and they deliver them up. So it's always a nice thing. Fries, the chicken wrap, buffalo chicken wrap's the best. I recommend that if you're going down to Scene Park. And I know a lot of people that actually just go down there for the food, and they'll go down to watch one of their friends, but they have to have something from the concession stand or else it's like a wasted trip for them.
Now, I have a question in regards to the field. And I've never been there, so I don't know anything about it, but I've been to enough fields all over with my daughter playing travel. Do they have like the dedicated crews that are on the field immediately when the game is over, hitting them?
Oh, yeah.
You've been to fields where that's part of your hiccup and part of your holdup for the next game starting because the field crews aren't out there working.
It's almost instant.
Yeah,
you
they
go
have
to
a big
you
field
go to
crew.
some fields, and I mean each field's got its own crew. They're there. As soon as that game's over, man,
Yep.
bam, it's like a NASCAR pit crew. Zip, zip, zip,
Yep.
zip, ready to go.
And they do a great job,
They
too.
do.
You
And
go to other fields, and you're standing around. There's
Mm-hmm.
nobody to be found, to work them up for the next game. So that, has the potential to push you back some time-wise,
And
too.
I also think that Class B is not going to do the infield like workouts between games. I think that was one of the things
Yeah,
they came out with. and
yeah, I
said.
think that's a smart idea. Get everything moving and allow, like you just said, the field crew to come out and rake up the dirt and get everything ready for the next
'Cause
game.
not only do they have to do all that, they also have to sanitize all the dugouts. So there's a little bit of extra time to kind of take that in. So they're not gonna do the infield workouts.
I respect that.
I think the easiest way to do that would just be put some disinfectant in a pressure washer and just
Spray
have at it.
There you go, yeah. Spray it.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun to watch.
There's so many different ways to go about it, yeah.
But what about Tristan and Rick? What are some of your favorite concession foods? I know you haven't been at Scene, but overall in the whole grand scheme of things.
Walking tacos is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that where
those
they
are,
put the taco meat in, like the Fritos?
Yeah.
Now
bag?
I'm not partial to the Doritos or the Fritos, and it wasn't until about a year ago that I actually had the Frito one. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is really good.
Yeah.
I always thought it was only Doritos, but those are
whole
kind of
Ito's
cool
family
because
is
it's
good.
quick and it's a quick little thing.
It's
and,
easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
For me, I've said it like 4 to 5 times. It's the popcorn, man. I always gotta grab
yeah.
popcorn no matter where I go. I don't know why.
Tristan raves the popcorn here at the office too.
Yeah,
I was saying, well, the last time I was here, you were making
after
it.
every show, he
Yeah.
just pops the bag.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I get it and I rank it. So as of right now,
What's been you rank it? What's the number one popcorn?
South Range.
South Range.
South Range. Number 1.
Plug for my alma mater.
Yeah.
Always love it.
I've never had, I don't even know if Scene has popcorn. Do they have
Oh
popcorn?
yeah.
Oh, they
Oh,
got
yeah.
everything.
They got
Alright, I'm gonna have to go
They have
up. I'll
everything.
go up this summer.
If a concession stand has a chicken wrap,
Just
I'm
for the
pretty sure
popcorn.
they have popcorn.
Yeah.
I'll watch a
Walk
couple-
in, buy popcorn, leave.
But what about like just like sitting in a ballpark? What's like the food that you think of when you're sitting at a ballpark watching baseball?
Peanuts.
I would go.
Are
with
you a
a-
peanut
I would go with
guy?
a hot dog.
Not
So
anymore.
I don't really
Yeah,
like.
I'm
I
not.
don't really like
I'm not
nuts.
allowed, but I used to be. And I'm talking like you got to bust them out of
Yeah.
the shell.
Oh, yeah.
That's another thing. I don't think they don't want them using the seeds.
Yeah, I
in
saw
baseball.
that. Yep.
That's man. That's like that breaks my
Yeah,
heart.
That's tough.
That's
tough. What's a
I don't
baseball
want
game?
people.
Even as
I
a
don't want
kid,
people
right?
spitting at me.
Even as a coach though, like
Yeah.
for some reason you step on a
It
baseball
helps
field,
maintain
you
the
have-
stress.
It does. It does.
I mean,
You're gonna have to do what? Remember that volleyball coach that was next to us?
Yes. You just kept eating the Starburst like over and over.
Instead of you're gonna have to find another way to kind of put something in your mouth to kind of keep yourself from saying something you shouldn't.
Yeah. I'm a big mint guy when I'm coaching basketball. Got mints on the side.
I guess
Man, like the peppermints, like in the. Little peppermint candies.
Anything I can get, like mint-wise, I just eat them. Just because I'll keep me from just grinding my teeth or something. Who knows?
What about food at a ballpark for you?
Hot dog. I would think hot dog. Yeah.
What do you got? What do you like on your hot dogs?
I eat it plain.
Plain.
It's gross.
I like it.
Plain Jane over
Is
here.
a hot dog a sandwich? That's a big question.
A hot dog is. I'm not getting in.
I don't
Come
know.
on.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's a
meat
hot
in
dog.
between two pieces of bread. It's a sandwich.
I
don't care
guess.
what you people say.
I mean, I guess
can-
you could look at it like
I
that.
don't know.
I don't really think about it when I get it. I'm just like, I just get a hot dog and
All
just
these
put
are
it
the
between
things you
the
have to
buns.
start thinking about.
I don't say, can I get a hot dog sandwich?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't say hot dog.
True.
sandwich.
Nobody says I like a hot dog sandwich. They just say I
You
like
don't
a
say
hot
a
dog.
hamburger sandwich either.
Yeah, you don't say hamburger sandwich.
So is it a
So
hamburger
is it a
sandwich?
sandwich? then?
Yeah, it is.
Can I get a ham sandwich? Can I get a
Well, I
turkey
think
sandwich?
Yeah.
what
that's
constitutes
because-
it as a sandwich, a burger, is the fact that the two pieces of bread are separate.
Okay.
Oh,
The
okay.
hot dog, the bun is connected now. So
Oh,
what we do is we just
sometimes
rip the
buns
bun
break.
into two pieces.
Yeah.
Now it's a sandwich.
That's a sandwich. Yeah.
Okay.
This is what
There you go.
this is what we live for in the Power Hour.
Yeah, because
These are the-
otherwise the hot dog is not equally proportionate in the bun because it's protruding from the top. If you rip the bun and you put it top to bottom, now the hot dog is in the middle.
Okay.
This
That
is
is
why
like
we-
a sandwich.
This is why we bring Rick Daly on, because he can use words like protruding.
Protruding, yeah. Good vocab.
Richie, what about what food do you think about when you kind of sit in the ballpark and you're watching baseball?
Definitely hot dog first, but then nachos and cheese.
Nachos, yeah.
Definitely
Oh,
nachos.
Nachos.
You guys get the ice cream
Yes.
and like the helmet buckets?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll go for it.
And they serve the nachos in there now. Like the loaded nachos, you can get like anything on there. Sour cream, cheese, meat,
just-
whatever
Now, are
you
you
want.
like a
nachos.
spicy nacho guy, or do you like the regular cheese? 'Cause,
No.
sometimes when I get like the spicy cheese,
Yeah.
it ruins the essence of nachos.
As long as the cheese is hot, I like it.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
it's cold cheese, it's
It's
just
just-
like
yeah,
Cold
toss it
cheese.
out.
As
Throw it
long as
away.
you have enough
It's
cheese
done.
for the chips. That's,
Right?
that's
Oh,
the big
that
thing.
that
that's
doesn't.
big too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's big. When you run out of cheese, you're
Yeah.
like, dang, I
Yeah,
got
you
like
get,
half
you know,
these
you
chips
get like half
left.
the cheese and you got a big wad of chips, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with these?
Those
You don't
little-
want to eat those dry chips.
Yeah, you don't want to
Like-
just eat the
Nah,
chips.
hell no.
Like those little Lunchable
Hell.
things where the cheese thing was like this big, and then you had a whole box of
Yeah.
chips, and you're like, there's
That's
no
the
way I
worst.
can do all
You
this.
don't want that,
Right.
those dried chips.
Yeah.
Mushrooms.
Oh yeah. Especially on like a hot day.
Yeah,
Right.
the ratio's got to be pretty good.
Takeaway is no one wants dried chips for their nachos. All right, we'll take a break on the Power Hour Thursday edition. We'll be right back.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
tonight. A new Wilmington
At
restaurant
GM Lordstown,
telling more local stories
will look at
baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley
Community in
afternoon.
Niles,
We are
one
here in
Triangle Valley
Youngstown, right
business.
because you expect
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
Then Mercer County
before
Court
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
Welcome back to the Power Hour Tuesday edition. I mean, Thursday edition. Wow, this week is swailing right up on
Tuesday
me.
should be a work
You know what? That short Memorial Day weekend kind of ruined my whole lineup. I'm glad it's not a Tuesday. I'm glad we're closer to the weekend. It's Thursday. And off the air, we kind of brought up one of our social media question yesterday at YSN was, what's your favorite kind of walk-off or game-winning play? We'll start with local, and then we'll kind of go with what our national favorites are. So, Rick, you had a couple in mind. What's your favorite game-winning play?
Well, as far as local goes, I mean, I got to be there for it. It was East Palestine, Lisbon for basketball this year. The game-winning shot.
First stick.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I've never been live to anything like that before. I mean, that was just surreal. The atmosphere, I mean, you know, obviously half the place went bananas because the other half were just in shock. But just to be able to see something like that, I mean, you see the look on her face, it just, you can't put words to it.
I felt
mean,
bad.
It was amazing.
Because Izzy Perez, you know, so many steals on the season. She's a stealing magnet, but she went for the steal. And it backfired on her because it got her out of position and then gave up a wide open shot.
That's the chance you take.
And I would tell Izzy Perez every day, take that chance, because 9 out of 10 times you're getting the steal with her.
Yep.
Tristan, I know you're gonna break my heart.
I'm gonna date it back.
I know you're gonna make me upset.
Oh, my brother kicked a game-winning field goal to beat South Range. We haven't beat him in like 10 years.
It's rough.
That one, and I also have
It
another
was a
one.
crazy game, though. A lot of crazy stuff happened in it, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think there was 2 kick
Is there
returns.
an onside kick?
There was an onside kick, two kick returns for a touchdown. It was a weird game. It was a weird game. Yeah, it was. And I also got another one. We talk about Carter Hill and Corey Hill sometimes. I bring him up. We were playing Palestine. They walked Corey to get to Carter, and Carter ended up hitting a walk-off home run. So it was just awesome. You walk the older brother, and the little brother's gonna hit a home run. It was sweet. Those are my 2.
Richie, what you got, man?
I think one of my favorites, and DJ actually got to call this one, was in the district championship between Boardman and Canfield. I watched the whole game. It was the 6th inning, bottom 6th in the district championship. Bases loaded, 2 down, every kid's dream, and then Mason Naraki hit a grand slam over the left field wall, and they ended up winning the district championship. And I just remember that moment forever because DJ's call was fantastic. It was on YSN, and it was such a battle. It was 0-0 through 6, and that's kind of almost unheard of in Little League, especially in a district championship, and it was such a great game. So I'd say that would be my favorite local. Oh, yeah, it was a bomb. It was a blast.
What, Field of Dreams out there?
Yeah, it was on the main field and everything, packed, and it was great to watch.
It's awesome.
For me, I could sit here and talk about the off the head thing. We've brought it up a couple times on the Power Hour, South Range versus Springfield basketball, where South Range, I think it was AJ Andre, threw a ball from the sidelines on the other side of the court, goes off Springfield kid's head into the bucket. And then we stormed the court, which was fun to storm Springfield's court. But that's one of those fluke things. But my favorite was 2016 softball, South Range regional finals. They just beat champion in the semifinals to get there. And anytime you beat champion in softball, it's a big deal. So you're there. They're playing Northwestern, and it's tied in like the 11th inning. Top of the 11th inning, Northwestern has the bases loaded with 2 outs. They hit a ball into the gap, and our center fielder dives and makes an amazing catch to save that run. And then we walk it off in the bottom of the 11th inning with a base hit with like runners on second and third. So that was fun. That sent them to the state for the first time in program history, and they got to the state championship, lost in the state championship. But it was a fun year, and that's one of the memories that I'll always have for that. But now we're going to take the national. And Tennessee had over there, I think I'm pretty sure I can guess which one you're going to say because it's one of the most miraculous game-winning plays in NFL history.
Music City Miracle. The old home run throwback.
Do you honestly believe that it was legal?
Yes.
Like, have you watched it and you're not saying that because you're a Tennessee fan?
It was close, but it was legal.
I felt like it wasn't a lateral, but it was straight, so it wasn't forward either. So you have to give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every time I watch it, it looks like it's straight down the line, and there's no rule about a straight pass.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be forward. So
the thing with
if
that
it's not
play,
forward,
though, too,
technically it's
is-
backwards.
What year was this?
That was the wild card '99.
Okay.
against
It's
Buffalo.
the year they went to the Super
They
Bowl
went
and
to the
lost
Super Bowl.
by.
It was a little bit more.
I know. I can't. I can't go a yard with my hands, Rick.
Okay, sorry. But the funny thing with that play was Wycheck was never supposed to throw that ball. It was supposed to be Lorenzo Neal. But the kick ended up being so short that Neal fielded it and kicked it back to Wycheck. Because every time they'd run it in practice, it was Lorenzo Neal throwing it to Kevin Dyson.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of, oh no, when Wycheck threw that because they hadn't practiced it that way. But, I mean, it worked out.
Isn't it weird that teams actually practice that stuff?
That was the most.
Yeah.
Like, you have to.
Do. Like,
Yeah,
you see
I
that
mean,
stuff, and they're like, we actually practice that. Get out of here. You actually
Yeah, it's like
practice
there's
that.
no way.
Yeah.
That's such a miracle.
But it's
there's
like
no
it's
way you
got to be
practice that.
just the perfect time to call that play. You know, you still work on them, and you may never, ever have an opportunity to call it. But if you do, you know, you'd want to have.
I mean, in the
practice
same
it a
sense,
little
Tristan, you coach basketball. I'm sure the great basketball teams at the end of every practice work on their situational. We're down by 2 in 10 seconds. Here's what play we're
Yeah, I
gonna
think
run.
everyone busts out
You
the
have
clock.
to, you have to
and
kind of
you
practice those
situational.
situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there is one situation I remember. I think it was Coach Gates. It was like a last second, like almost like a half court shot. You know, it was like we got like two or 3 seconds. We got to figure something out. So you do practice that stuff, but it's weird to think about. It's like, why? You know, you may not use this, but once it happens, you're glad. Like you said, you're glad you have it in there. So it's not like it's not new. It's somewhat fresh. You've done it before. You know, your memory picks it up. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I know what we're doing now.
And you coach some with Rick Gates on the girls team. You coached some pretty talented girls over there at Crestview.
Oh, we were solid over there. Yeah.
Ashley Harrison was on that team, right? With
It was the year after.
year after her. Okay.
Yeah, we had.
She was a stud.
We had Alexis Gates actually.
Yeah.
She went. For
She was a
1,000
stud too.
that year.
She went for volleyball though. That's where she went to college for, I believe.
Who?
She went to Gates.
She
Like
ended-
Alexi went to
She went to Geneva and she played
For-
basketball.
basketball.
Yeah.
Okay.
We worked.
Who am I thinking of?
We worked a trick play with my younger girls softball team.
Yes.
Never got to use it, but we
Yeah.
worked it in practice just
I've
in case
seen-
the opportunity arose.
What was it? The hidden ball trick.
Yeah, we're gonna have the catcher try to throw down to third,
Okay.
and then have the outfielder act like it got
Yeah,
over the third
okay,
baseman's
yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old squirrel
Because a
play.
lot of times
That happened
from
in
what
the
I-
college game last year where they
Yeah.
threw it and then the shortstop acted like it was way
Yeah.
off, and all of a sudden the catcher still had the
Yeah,
ball
we
and
we
just
work on it a little bit every week for 5-10 minutes, and it had to be the right girls in those positions. And what we do is the catcher would pretend to throw it to third. The third baseman would jump and not get it. The
Yeah.
outfielder would take off towards the fence after it. Because half the time in Little League, that third base coach wasn't paying attention.
Oh yeah.
So they
They're
see
half
those girls
asleep.
react that way, they're going to send them home.
Uh-huh.
And then my catcher's sitting there waiting.
Have you ever
with the
seen
ball.
Little Big League?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that same exact
Yep.
scene where they throw to first, like fake throw,
Yep.
pick off to 1st and everybody goes running towards the right field line, and then the pitcher just tosses it over to second.
Uh-huh.
They tag him out.
It would have been awesome had we been able to use it.
Yeah,
'Cause, I
that'd
mean,
be
I think
fun.
at that time, I think it might have been our first year at 10U, I think. But we put that in just in case. But it would have been awesome. I think everybody would have got a kick out of that had we had a chance to use it.
that would have been
Basketball-wise, we did-
Sports Center material.
Yeah.
Basketball-wise, we did something in middle school. When you're getting pressed and on a made bucket, you can run the baseline or whatever. So we'd call timeout. So we come back out. We're still able to run the baseline. We would do a baseline exchange as we're getting pressed. Do the baseline exchange. The kids would stop. They're like, "What the heck's going on?" Defensively.
Yeah.
And we would just send someone long. Boom, layup. Because they're like, "What are you
Yeah, you
doing?"
can't do that.
What are
They
you
think you
doing?
can't do it.
Most
It's
people
actually
think
legal.
you can't do it, but it's completely legal.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to talk to the refs because they'll see the same and they'll just quick blow the whistle like, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah.
But T, what's your favorite kind of national scope of things? Walk off or game winning play?
Oh, I don't know, man. Oh, I should have thought this through. Didn't really think it through.
You want us to go back to you?
Yeah, come back.
Skip
to
you.
me. Skip me.
All right, so I'd say my favorite would be in 2007 ALDS game number 2.
Okay.
Indians and Yankees. It was the bug game when
Oh, yeah.
the Bugs were all over the place against Jabba Chamberlain. He threw 2 wild pitches in that inning, tied it up in the 8th, and then later in the 11th, 3-2 count, bases loaded. Travis Hafner rips one up the alley in right center, and the Indians went to New York up 2-0, and they would end up winning that series.
When you talk about Indians game winners, there's one that just really bugs me the wrong way, and it was on this day a couple weeks ago. I saw it because it popped up on MLB's It was against the Royals. I don't remember what year, but the ball hit a seagull in the outfield and then deflected away from the center fielder, and that's how they won.
Wow.
Because they had the they were probably going to win anyway because they had the bases loaded with like 1 out in the bottom of the 10th.
Yeah.
So I mean, not a lot of people can get out of that without giving up a run.
Yeah.
But the ball goes in the center field. It's a base hit. It hits a seagull. And then skips away from Coco Crisp, who was our center fielder back then. And the 2 runs scored, they won the game.
Yeah.
And it was
Makes sense.
upsetting. It was upsetting.
It's like that one scene where, who is it? Like Randy Johnson hits
he
the bird
hits the
flying
bird.
or
Exploded.
something like
He
that.
exploded the bird.
They
Yeah,
never
it's like
found the
that.
bird.
Yeah, and this one didn't explode. I mean, it got knocked down. It got on the ground. It staggered a little bit, but then it got it back up and flew away. So, but still, I was really upset about it.
Hey, it happens. to
It
the best.
happens. You got one, T?
I got 2. Actually.
Okay.
Okay.
Gave
so
him time,
I'm-
and he's
all
got
right,
2
He's
of them.
got 2
I'm
now.
gonna be biased. I'm gonna go with the Steelers and Holmes in the corner of the end zone.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
That was
big
a good
play.
one.
That was one of the best throws in Super Bowl
It was
history.
a great throw, great catch, probably better catch than a throw maybe, but the throw was still awesome.
And see, that's a debate because that throw, I mean, if he puts it anywhere,
Anywhere
else,
else, yes.
it's going to be tipped. And
But-
then over two
Yeah,
defenders.
to get your the throw is awesome. Don't get me wrong. The throw
And that's
you
a
can
catch that
debate
professional wide receivers practice all the time.
Yeah.
Toe touch. you
Yeah.
know. It's a great catch, but I think it was a better throw.
I think so too, because you have to have the throw before you have the catch.
But sorry, that was rude. I interrupted you.
Oh, yeah,
you have
yeah,
a second
go
one.
And this one isn't really that crazy, but when I forget what year it was when the Indians were on the second time they were about to win like 20 games in a row or something like that. I remember that.
Yeah, when they won 22.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I was at one of those games to extend it. It was Chisenhall hit one, just he actually pinch hit and drove it down the line and hit right on the line. Boom, fair ball, and it won it, to extend the streak.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because I was at the game.
It's probably
Yeah.
against the Royals.
No, the Royals was 22 because
Yeah,
Lindor hit
yeah.
the double off the left field wall when they were down to their final out.
See,
Oh,
that's
yeah, we
that's
had
the
a-
typical Indians,
we
man.
had
They
a-
always get started too
I
late
know.
at the wrong
They had
time.
a 22-game win streak and then just couldn't win in the
We
playoffs.
had him
It's like
down. We
wrong
had him
time.
down
You had us down
to the last
Yeah.
out.
last strike.
Last strike.
Yeah, I was at that game and I was like, "Oh man, this is a disappointment."
No, you
like
can always
sold
come
out
back.
crowd,
Yeah.
playing the
Always-
Royals. No offense, they weren't very
Always,
good
no,
at the
it was
time.
2016?
Yeah,
16?
no,
The Royals are
no,
hitting
it
this
Was
the
it
year
17?
after. Yeah,
Yeah, that was when the 16 we were still decent. We didn't make the playoffs. We were still kept all those people that got us to the World Series. 17 we got rid of everyone.
Yeah.
And we were trash. So
Well, you guys had that run.
yeah, we had every small market team. You had the window. We had two. We
yeah,
had
you won one. So,
we had
I
really
mean,
4
Yeah,
years.
everyone has a window. And,
We had
you
about
know what I
4 years where we had playoff caliber roster. We missed the playoffs 2013
mean? Yeah, the
barely.
Pirates had a window
Got
back
to the
in
World
14.
Series in 14, won it in 15, and then missed the playoffs barely in 16.
And they lost in Game 7, didn't they? In 14.
Yeah.
I was at home too to the Giants. I
Yeah,
remember
that was when Bumgarner came on
Yeah.
and pitched.
Out of the
5 innings of
bullpen.
relief,
Yeah.
2 days.
Yep.
2 days after starting games 5.
Hey, that's classic Bumgarner in the playoffs.
Right?
He'll do
And-
anything to
and
get his
he-
team a win.
he
Yeah.
gave,
He's an animal.
We lost with a runner on third because he gave up a single, but the center fielder missed it and went all the way into the wall, and Alex Gordon got to third. So we lost with the game tying run on third.
Dang.
It's rough. But we bounced back from that, unlike the Indians.
Hey, man.
I'll give you that. You did. You did. I mean, I can't defend that. I mean, we got.
No, I mean,
we
I
got
thought
pummeled.
the year after the Indians lost, they felt like they were so built to go win a World Series.
We were better. We were better than they were in
but
2016.
They ran to the Yankees, right?
Yeah, we had the lead against the Yankees too.
Yeah.
That was more heartbreaking than I think losing Game 7 was.
Right.
That we had so much talent, we looked our best ever, and then you get 2-0 against the Yankees and you blow it. And
It's just the
like,
Indians
oh,
never have
goodness.
that. We talk about on the show, especially him, killer mentalities with Michael Jordan. That's his favorite thing to say. But the Indians lack that.
Yeah, they can't
Yeah.
put anybody away.
No, they
Well, when
lack
you-
that.
when
You
you-
can have the best roster in the league, no matter what sport it is. But if you just can't put teams away, if you let teams hang around and you give them hope, you
Yeah.
better figure it out. quick.
Unfortunately, like franchises like the Indians, because of their history, I feel like it's a losing culture almost. When things go a little bit wrong, they go really wrong. Just because the history of the franchise has kind of built this mindset into the team that they're going to blow it. Because unfortunately, they just have a sad history of
Losing.
losing.
Yeah.
That's why they need.
But
Ricky
losing in
Vaughn.
heartbreaking ways.
Ricky
I
Vaughn.
mean,
They do need Ricky Vaughn. Well, I mean, in the World Series because they made all those jokes about the Warriors.
Yeah, that was karma. That was karma. That was karma.
That was bad. It's like you made all those jokes about the Warriors, then we do it.
Dude,
the
as soon as
same
it went up
year. It's
3-1,
like,
everyone's
my
face was
gosh.
like, oh, shit.
So that yours is game 2, and then you had 2 of them, right?
Yep.
Mine is Georgia Tech playing Florida State in 2015. Florida State was number 9 in the country, undefeated. We were 2-5. It was bad. It was a bad year. A lot of injuries.
It's a lot. You guys have a lot of bad years.
Classic Georgia Tech, 2-5.
I'm doing some hand signals below the camera right now.
But you always... Okay, never
No, we won the Orange Bowl the year before. In 2014, we won the Orange Bowl, 11-win season, and then we came back and we had a lot of injuries that year. We had a safety playing running back. That's how bad it was. But anyway, we're tied at 16 with number 9 Florida State at the end of the game. They have the clutchest field goal kicker in college football kicking.
That kid's really good. Yeah. He just got
Robert
drafted.
Aguayo.
Yeah, he just got drafted.
Yeah, he went to Tampa and then they cut him.
Yeah, he didn't do anything in the NFL, but as far as college football, he was a stud. He only missed 1 field goal his whole career. He comes up with a 56-yarder. The week before, we lost on a 56-yard field goal to Pitt, and a guy named Blewett hit it. Like when a guy named Blewett hits a field game, okay. Anyway, 56-yarder.
Damn it, Blewett.
The 56-yarder the next week, we block it and then run it back for a touchdown and win the game against number 9 Florida State. Mayhem. They call it the Miracle on Techwood Drive, and that's my absolute favorite.
Oh, hey, let me piggyback off of we're talking college. I got one. The
Ohio State?
Upset in the Big House. Appalachian State beat
Okay.
Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
on block.
That was one of the
Wasn't it
best
a block-
calls ever. Yeah, it was a block field goal.
and they housed it. Oh my gosh.
They didn't need to house it because that field goal would have tied the game, I believe.
Yeah,
they were
but-
short anyway.
Yeah.
He got down to like the 5 or something like
But
that.
still, Michigan was like 2 or
They were good. They were really good.
Yeah.
They were really good. I mean, losing to Appalachian State, no matter how bad
Yeah.
they were, being
No,
Michigan, it's like, oh my goodness.
Appalachian State at that time was one of the premier FCS schools.
It doesn't matter. Michigan was
I
like
get
2.
it.
Michigan was
But
like
it
2 in
was
the
like-
country. Yeah.
I don't think they were. I think
They
it
were
was
top-
like
they
the
were top
first game
10.
of the. It was first game of the season, so preseason rankings don't mean.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean,
If you're there,
you're still
two-
top 5.
But yeah, Appalachian State. It wasn't like a layover FCS school. It was like a prestigious FCS program at that point. But an embarrassing loss
Yeah,
nonetheless.
but I mean, you pay them to come
Right,
to play
you
your
pay them
place,
to-
so it's like
And,
if you lose,
And
that's
they haven't
just
played
like,
him since.
No. I would never touch Appalachian State again if
No.
I was Michigan.
No.
No, not anything.
Because if you do, you open yourself to those terrible jokes. And did you see Harbaugh lose his mind
Yes.
after
Harbaugh always
after
loses
getting that
his mind.
recruit?
Yes.
And it's a 4-star recruit. I mean, it wasn't even like a 5-star stud.
What do you do? Like, what
4-star linebacker, and
Did
he
like
went on
a
Instagram
backflip
and
and-
just
He did a backflip?
he lost his
He did
collective
something.
mind.
He went bonkers. I don't know. I think he might have thought he was still coaching the Niners.
Jalen Hood, 4-star linebacker, committed to Michigan, and Harbaugh lost his collective mind about it.
I think Harbaugh's a good coach. I think he'll figure it out over there.
He just can't win the big game.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. He has good seasons. He puts together
Yeah.
I
great
think he's
seasons.
lost,
They
like-
can't
But he
win
just
Ohio
can't
State.
stay anywhere for any prolonged period of time.
I think
Yeah.
he's undefeated at home to teams not named Ohio State.
It's like crazy, yeah.
He turned around the Niners, though, when he was there.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah,
saw
and
that coming.
well, what he did is he brought stability to Alex Smith,
Uh-huh.
and then all of a sudden, hey, Alex Smith isn't a bust, and
Exactly. And that's
Well, they
what
changed
we
the
talked
whole
about
offense, I
that. That's
think.
what ruins quarterbacks.
Coaches coming and going.
Instability. Yep. Keep changing systems around on young
Because
quarterbacks.
Alex
and-
Smith was on his way out.
yeah.
Yeah,
before-
he was horrible. I mean,
6
at that
years
point,
of
but
nothing.
every other year or every year it was a new offensive coordinator, a new system. I mean, that's stress.
That's hard. That's hard to do.
What are some honorable mention game-winning plays that you guys can kind of think of that maybe not like were great with your heart because we talked about our favorite teams, but are just great endings
Any Hail Mary pass?
right?
Cordell Stewart in Colorado.
I mean, the Hail Mary that started the Hail Mary, Doug Flutie in
Yeah.
Boston College.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they called it the Hail Mary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember,
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think, has had more than anybody.
He's doing
Not
it.
necessarily game ending, but like halftime and just he's had a
Didn't he throw
handful.
like two or three in one season, right?
Well, he threw that one, the big
Threw the
one
one
against
against
the
the replacement
Seahawks,
refs.
where it was the interception and the touchdown all at the same time.
Yeah,
He
didn't
threw
the
one
Packers
against the
guy come
Lions.
down with it and they called it an
Yeah,
interception?
they
or
called it an
something?
interception.
It's
One
kinda
ref said interception, one ref said touchdown.
It was kind of one of those things
They
where they
gave him
both
3
kind of
points.
came down with it, right? Like they
Yeah.
both kind of had possession.
it's
that was a big debacle.
Yeah, that's weird.
Do you guys remember
last year didn't Miami beat, or 2 years ago Miami beat the Patriots on like the lateral?
Oh, Kenyon Drake.
Just one of them kind of deals.
Because they had Gronk in there for some reason.
Yeah, he wasn't back deep enough.
Well, you put him in there if the Dolphins are in a spot where they can chuck the ball in the end zone, you put him in there.
Yeah.
But they weren't anywhere close.
No. And he was out of position.
Right, and he couldn't make a tackle in that open field.
How about when?
Yeah, he did.
How about when the expansion Browns came back and Couch had that Hail Mary when they beat the Saints for their first win? Remember that?
No one
Was
remembers
that Kevin Johnson that threw it to?
What year was that?
The year Cleveland came back.
What, 1999?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 99.
Yeah, they played the Saints. I think it was in the Superdome. And Couch hit that Hail Mary at the end. I think it was to Kevin Johnson.
I was about like 2 months old, so I don't think I remember that one.
We're going way back in the Richies.
So is that what happened to Couch then when we talk about instability?
Yeah.
Couch not.
Well, that and the fact that he got the car beat out of him from that line. That's the other thing that can
He had no offensive line.
I don't really remember Couch's there. Was he solid?
He was there for a while.
He was. I don't want to say
3
he
years?
was good. He was okay. He could have been, but the fact that they had no line, and the fact that the coaching was, the instability of the coaching, I think, is what did him in. Same thing with what happened to Carr in Houston.
He went on.
He could have been good.
He was solid,
but he got the crap knocked out of him. I mean, it got to that thing where every time he dropped back, instead of looking for his receivers, he was like, "Where's the pass rushers coming from?"
Yeah, he's running for his life.
That's what
you say Hutton, they're in your face.
Couch went on to back up Brett Favre for the rest of his career, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That's not a
remember.
And Carr won a Super Bowl backing up Eli. The Giants.
I did not know that.
Was it Duke that had the 5 laterals to beat Miami a couple years ago?
God, why'd you got to bring that up?
Because I threw you a bone in the last power hour, and you threw it in my face. Because I was like, oh, the best team that never was the 2002 Miami Hurricanes, and you didn't even agree with me.
I don't think they were the best there never was.
You've thrown your last olive branch right out the window.
What about?
Do you guys have the best there never was team or player or anybody?
When you have 32 players that get drafted and you don't win a championship, that's really bad.
Best there never was for me. I picked the Orlando Magic when Penny was there and Shaq. That was mine.
Because Penny got hurt.
He said the 2002 Miami Hurricanes.
I'd say the Detroit Tigers back in the day.
Yes,
they never
I like
won.
that idea.
They had Scherzer, Verlander.
They were loaded.
They were loaded. They had Cabrera,
Miggy,
Victor
yeah.
Martinez. They were unbelievable. Austin Jackson. They were really good, and they never came up and.
An
never
underrated
won a
player
World
on that
Series.
team too was Insler.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Such a good second baseman, solid.
Wait, how didn't they win? After everyone used his name, that's
they
an all-star
lost
lineup.
to Boston.
Yeah.
They got beat by Boston, and then it was
And then
over.
Boston
from there.
won the World Series.
Yeah. And they were so stacked. They had all the pitching, and they had a decent lineup. And
But then
they just
Verlander win
never
2
won.
Cy Youngs over there?
Yeah. Yeah. They
And
were
now
really good.
now the Tigers are trash.
Yeah, now they're just bad.
Quick how fast the franchise can change. Because they had a span where they won like 5 straight AL Central.
Oh, yeah, they were dominant. I mean, they absolutely killed the Indians every single year. And that was like our rival, is playing the Detroit Tigers, because they just whooped on us every time they came to Cleveland. Now it's the other way around.
Who knew? It was the Minnesota Twins now that are the ones that are real rivals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
part
weird.
of baseball's problem is they don't have a salary cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that
that's-
hurts. Those smaller market.
If you talk to the
teams,
players,
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
Well, I mean,
because
No, but I mean,
the
you
players
look at
literally
the
players
Yankees. I mean,
struck.
they're in the playoffs just about every year, but they're throwing $500 million a year at players, and then they sign a guy 1 year for 6 years for $180 million, and he don't play. They cut him. They bring in the next best player that's free the next year.
Well, I mean,
You know,
I mean, you're right. The Yankees do it all the time. I mean, look, they got A-Rod. They just threw the mouse at him. Hey, there you go, man.
Boom.
It's because they got it. I mean, the
Exactly.
TV deals that they get, all the merchandise they sell, ticket sales, everything.
Yeah.
They're not giving any of that money back to the other organizations, so they might as well spend it on themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
I don't think that we'll ever see a salary cap in baseball. I mean,
No.
1994.
They're gonna have to vote on it.
1994.
They're
They
never gonna
1994 they struck just
Yeah.
to avoid it. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, because
baseball's in a weird state of mind right now.
Yeah.
We don't know
Yeah.
if it's even going to come back.
Well, none of the players want to take the budget cuts. That's the biggest thing. Like the owners and
Yeah.
Well, 'cause they
fans
feel
are
like-
all right, let's go. But
Do
they're
you
like,
agree with
"Nah."
this? I said this. I said you're gonna get, and you might agree too. You're gonna get big time players. Like I don't know if he'll do it, but I'm just gonna throw his name out. Mike Trout. He's like, I don't know if I want to play. Bryce Harper. I don't know if I want to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get those guys like Lindor, and he's even a contract year. Why would I go play half a year and stink it up? You know what I mean? And I think you're going to see these big time dudes. I think they're going to say, nah, I think I'm going to sit out.
Well, Scherzer's already on board with that. What's that?
Can they do that with
mean,
no legal ramifications on their end? They're under contract.
They are.
So what are the terms and how is the wording of that contract go? You know, is it enforceable only if they play a full season? You know what I mean?
That's
like,
what
what's
I'm
the
guessing.
terminology?
They probably have to like play so many games in the season for the contract to be like credible,
enforceable. Yeah.
Could they just say, "Hey, I'm hurt"?
Yeah, honestly, they could
could.
make. There's so many excuses, especially with how strong the baseball union is. They can make up so many excuses.
Trevor Bauer can go play with some drones for a minute.
Trevor Bauer has been really heavy into this movement of that they're not going to take the cuts, and him and Scherzer have come out and said that openly. Like, we're not taking cuts. Like, we
What's
want
funny
full
is
pay.
the former players have come out against the players. Like Chipper Jones came out and said,
Well,
"You
Chipper
guys
Jones
are
was in a different era. That was
and
one.
yeah,
that
but
was
that's
like,
different.
It's funny because Chipper Jones is part of that 1994 strike. So you struck to avoid.
Well, I mean, you look at all the players.
You know. So
They say that, but if they were in this situation, do you think?
right.
I mean, the problem is it's
So
an
I just thought the
individual
former
opinion.
players would come in out and support the players because they're kind of with them. You know, they've been players before. So we'll take a break on the Power Hour Thursday edition. We'll be right back. We'll talk some YSU football.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com. Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Stay in the showers. I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Welcome back to the Power Hour Thursday edition. I'm host Anthony Hartwig, and thank you so much for joining us. On the other side of the table, we have brought in Quinn Pushkar.
Yay!
He's kind of
clap, 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 clap.
Yippee.
He's kind of tapping out Tristan Reynolds for now as we talk about YSU football. And Quinn worked with YSU football for a while as part of the equipment team. And Richie, you work close with the sports information department. We talked to Coach Phillips yesterday on Running Point, and he had a lot of good things to say about the season to come. And what kind of things do you see YSU kind of returning and things to expect from them?
Well, I think first off, they have a lot of young players that got experience on the defensive side of the ball. I know a lot of kids that played at least 12 games, all 12 for Youngstown State last year defensively, and that's big because they're missing a lot of senior leadership. Kyle Hedges led the team in tackles, one of the best players in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. DJ Smalls, Malik Richmond, you just name a few of them, and that's what you're missing for next year. But it's good that we've had some experience in playing in the defensive side of the ball. So that's a good thing that we could come back with.
Who are some players that are returning, like you said, that you think could really step up and pop out some eyes today?
Well, I think that you got Joe Craycraft on the offensive side, that he actually played more games than the starting quarterback in Nate Mays because of the injuries that Mays had. And last year, Craycraft played in 11 games. He was 66 for 127, had 8 touchdowns, and he averaged about 7 yards. So he had a pretty good season his sophomore year, and he's still got 2 more years left to shine. So I like him coming back, as well as Christian Turner. I think he's going to be the primary back for Youngstown State, replacing Joe Alessi. And he's got a lot of shoes to fill with Alessi because, man, he ran all over the place in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. He was the main back. He basically started every game, 136 rushing attempts, 803 yards with 5 touchdowns. And Turner did get some experience, but nowhere near what Alessi played last year.
Do you think the Penguins will kind of introduce a run by committee and try to have, a couple of backs be their premier backs this year?
No, they've never really done that in the past, and I don't think even with a new head coach they would go to that resort. I think that they like having that primary one back, and I think that's what they're going to stick to this year.
You talk about their new coach, Doug Phillips, and what's the feeling around the whole Youngstown community about what he kind of brings to the team? And we talked about it. He's so big on body language and so big on kind of the culture. What do you think he'll do for the culture at YSU football?
I think he's going to bring a lot of positivity to the team. I mean, last year is not what we expected. 6-6, they got off to a great start at 4-0, playing on ESPN against Samford, a big win there. Come back, win 3 on your home field, and then you kind of collapse in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So I think with a new head coach, he's just kind of cleaned the slate off. It's a new year, positive vibes, and I think that's what he's going to bring to the team.
Quinn, you're a coach, obviously, with AAU, not football, basketball. But no matter what the sport is, culture is so important.
Absolutely.
How big of a difference do you think we're going to see in YSU football culture?
That's tough. I don't know Coach Phillips as well as I did some of the other coaches. I know that they got a lot of new coaches coming in, but from the little bit that I have talked to Coach Phillips, he's a good dude, and I think he's going to build like Richie said, a great culture. I got to be a part of Bo Pelini's tenure there, and even Wolford before. It shows you how old I am. But I mean, those two also built culture there. It was a little different culture, I guess, with those two than what Coach Phillips brings. But I think the culture, it's going to be more localized, kind of more of that Youngstown mentality, I guess. So yeah, I think it'll be a good culture for the football team. It really would.
He talked so much about yesterday about how he wants to become more intricate in the community and a bigger part of the community, a more staple of the Youngstown community, and that's going to be more interested in the community. What do you guys think are some things that YSU football could do to kind of raise interest in the whole Youngstown community? Rick, let's start with you.
I mean, they could maybe put on camps and stuff, help out a little bit with the younger programs. Those kids, you get a college football player to come in, even a high school football player for that matter, to these youth programs. I mean, those kids will follow them around like a lost puppy dog. They'll listen to every word that they say, and I mean, they'll take it straight to heart. It'll make such an impact on those kids, and that's kind of what you need to help, grow the diminishing numbers that we're seeing, especially in football.
Richie, what about you? You work so close with, the sports people at YSU right now. What kind of things do you think they do so well to kind of intricate themselves into the community?
Well, first, I think they build their own brand really well. I think they branch out through social media tremendously. I mean, you look at the amount of likes and retweets that their page alone gets, and it blows every other Youngstown State sports Twitter page away. And I think they do a great job of building their brand. There's posters, billboards all over campus. But I think they could also expand that outside of campus, around the Youngstown area, around like Boardman and Canfield. I think there's a little bit of a lost presence there, and that would help get more fans in the stadium.
You spend a lot of time on campus, so I'm interested to hear what your thought. What's kind of the feeling among Youngstown State students on YSU football? Is it a really hot spot to get to a YSU game as a student?
I heard it used to be, but not as much
right?
as it is now. And
So what kind of things do you? I mean, if they gotta hit home first before they worry about outside Youngstown State. So what kind of things can they do to drive students to these games and try to get a big student kind of culmination at their football games?
that's tough because you look at bigger programs and they automatically get kids to come to the games, and there's thousands of kids in the student section. But now that the culture around student sections at Youngstown State have kind of decreased over the years, I think they could try and give a little bit more of promotions, I'd say, just stuff to give out. And
You don't like giving out cups?
Come on, bobbleheads. I think they could work on promotions a little bit.
I think when I see some of the bigger schools do is they say, if you come to a game as a student, we're gonna have a raffle. So like if there's 1,000 students at the stadium, someone's gonna win a plasma screen TV or something like that. Something that wouldn't break YSU's budget, of course, because they're going to be hurting after this whole COVID-19 thing. But something that kind of drives students to the game.
Well, another thing is the tickets for YSU students are free for every athletic event. So it's not like an Ohio State situation where those kids have to pay hundreds of dollars to sit in the student section. They get in for free. So I think promotions would be the big thing to drive kids to come to the games.
I think the only issue that you could run into, because obviously you want your student sections to be like rabid. You know what I mean? You run these promotions with the TVs and stuff like that, and you run the risk of getting a bunch of kids there who don't care about the game. They're just sitting there waiting to see if they won the TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's a double-edged sword, I guess.
Yeah. So I think maybe another idea would be you could target the kids that are going to be fired up at games, right? And you give them, I don't know, I wouldn't say anything special, but something a little extra to get the crowd into it, get the student section into it a little bit, because there are certain groups in the YSU student section that they get rowdy and they get loud. So if they could rally everybody together as one, then that would help. So I think they could try and target certain students to fire the crowd up a little bit and give them a little extra incentive.
Does the team do anything like kind of around campus where like the team will have like a campus event where?
No.
Do you think that would be a good idea to kind of do?
We got the bonfire.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's about
required
it.
To go to that.
There's a little bit more like of a connection between the regular YSU student and the players.
There won't be.
Well, what do you think about that idea, though?
Well, I think one thing about Youngstown State is it's a big commuter campus. So most of the kids live off of campus, and most of the athletes stay on campus. So they kind of already have a connection from athlete to athlete. And I don't know, it's tough. I guess you just have to build a winning culture. And then
the product on the field has to be better.
Product on the field.
Plus, you got to play on a different day than Ohio State. I mean, at the end of the day, if we have free tickets to YSU or Ohio State, which one are we going to?
Yeah,
I mean, I think all of us are going to Ohio State. It's just better football.
Yeah, I'll go to YSU. It's closer.
I love YSU football.
Right?
Like, I love going to games.
Nobody will be around me.
Don't get me wrong, I love it too, but the product's got to get better. It just does.
Well, when you talk about that, you obviously have to talk about what a gauntlet the Missouri Valley Conference is. What do you kind of expect from it this year?
I mean, I
It's going to be the
expect
best conference
I
in the FCS.
expect the same
Plain
thing.
and simple.
I mean, North Dakota State's not getting any worse.
Top 10
South
quarterback.
Dakota State's still good.
Yeah.
Northern Iowa. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you're playing in one of the best FCS conferences, and you got to step up your game. 2-6 last year just wasn't doing it.
One of the
Close
things.
losses, though. They were close.
They were. They were competitive
We were
last
winning
year.
a couple of them too.
One of the things that we talked about with Coach Phillips was the possibility of there's a lot of travel in the MV, in the Missouri Valley Conference. You're going to South Dakota, you're going to North Dakota. Travel might be affected this year with the COVID-19 thing and traveling all the way to South Dakota. I don't know what the road schedule in the conference looks like. Are they playing both those on the road?
Well, you got 4 Dakota teams now. You got a Missouri State. I'm trying to think, where were we last year? We had South Dakota State came and North Dakota State came, right? So we got to go to those two. I think we add Indiana State this year.
They'd probably be home because we played at Indiana State last year.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Who do we have off? South Dakota? No,
we played them too.
Western.
Yeah, we were.
It was Western.
Okay,
we played Western. We dropped one of them, but we got to add them back anyway because North Dakota came in the league now. It's a far trip. Those are far trips.
Yeah.
Because you got to go to Missouri State, I think, this year too.
I mean, obviously, that's a question for the conference to answer on how they're going to handle so much travel. But it's one of the conferences where it's not geographically close to each other.
I think it's going to be a lot
Neither
of
is the
busing.
Big Sky.
Yeah.
And Big Sky's the same way.
Because I know.
You are not going to bus to North Dakota.
Yeah.
Not
Well, I
gonna
know.
happen.
I mean,
That's
I don't
an
know.
18-hour drive.
If
You're not
you would
busing
have
to
to, I
North
think.
You're
I
not.
don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Because they charter flights anyway, so
Yeah.
it won't matter.
I guess. I mean,
Our host is over there dying.
No, he's dying. Once an episode, he dies.
Yeah.
But
They
yeah,
have to
those
invest
are
in a Madden
those are
Cruiser.
way too far to bus. I mean, you're talking about 18 hours on a bus to play
Yeah.
the next
And
day.
I would imagine
That's
they don't
tough.
have a plane.
We charter them.
yeah.
Okay.
they do
Yeah,
have a
we
plan.
charter.
Okay,
Southwest.
gotcha.
But he was saying the budget cuts. What do you think
Yeah.
they're going to do with that?
Well, yeah, exactly. I just read. I mean, they eliminated how many teaching positions,
Yeah,
and then
it was like
even
22
Tressel
jobs
took
or something.
took a cut and stuff. I mean, they're trying to cut back there, but at the same time, you know, if you're going to play into these sports, can you really afford to cut those budgets? You can't.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can't.
if they got to get to these games,
Join
You
a
gotta
crowd.
get-
can't.
gotta
Yeah,
do
you
it.
can't. You know, what are you
Yeah.
going to do? Rent an old prop plane? Like, you know.
Hey, pick your battles. I mean, if you don't want to spend the money, you got to get in a better, another
Right.
conference, and the
Yep.
closer conference is terrible. It's Robert Morris's conference.
Yeah.
So that's what the NEO or something.
Yeah, we
It's-
beat up
it's
Robert
terrible.
Morris every
it's
time.
a terrible conference. So it doesn't help you at all.
No.
So I don't know.
That'll be something. That'll be something to think. I mean, that's a question for the conference on what they're going to do with travel.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to happen. It doesn't. I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
What kind of things can YSU do in the conference this year? Do you expect them to have a better record than the 2-6 they had last year?
They're
Yeah.
always competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
we always end up 4th or 5th at least. I don't think we get too far below.
I definitely expect us to have a better record than 2-6. There were some games last year on the road where, you know, they just couldn't have dropped them. It was tough. And I think once they got towards that end of the season, you kind of saw a little tiredness coming from them. And I think because of that, they dropped some games that they just shouldn't have. But overall, when you start off 4-0 and then 6-6, you know, you got to finish off your schedule the right way.
So obviously, it's a first-year head coach, and not only does he have to deal with all the things that a first-year coach would normally have to deal with, he also has to deal with, you know, all this COVID-19 stuff. How do you think that's going to affect them?
Yeah, I mean that's going to play a big part in everything. You know, there's a lot of unknowns that we don't know right now, and that's with any sport. You know, so it's going to affect their ability to prepare. You know, camps, everything else. I mean, what are their restrictions going to be for practicing? You know, and stuff like that. You would figure there's going to be something, so it's going to make it even harder. I mean, the big thing for me personally, like I look at it and go, okay, what kind of plan can they put in place that is going to limit these guys getting hurt? Because if they don't have the time to prepare, you know they're going to get hurt. And you see it in the NFL as they keep cutting back the amount of time they're allowed to have OTAs and training camps and everything else. That product is not good early in the season because those guys haven't had time. You know, they should be working more.
Sounds like a good Browns excuse right
And I think with college, it may not be any different because not because of their what they're allowed to do, but what they're restricted to do right now. You know, are they able to get together? You know, like you said, kids are living off campus and stuff. Can they get here to partake in this stuff? You know, that's potentially going to hurt somebody. But they have to be able to prepare and go out to, you know, present that product. Like we go back to the fans and stuff. You know, if that product isn't there, the fans won't be either. You know.
Richie, you talked quarterback play, and their quarterback now, he's got a lot of experience. It wasn't expected experience, but it was experience nonetheless. What kind of ways can he improve to come back this year and be a better quarterback?
You think Joe's the guy?
If you think
he
he's
would
the
be.
guy.
I think he would be the guy.
Over Wade?
I think so. He has the experience, and they like to use Wade once they're in the red zone in short yardage situations as well. So I think they use Wade more as a running quarterback than they do passing, definitely. But
I saw Joe run a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's forced to.
Yeah.
But, Craycraft's supposed to be the pocket passer and Wade's supposed to be the runner, but it kind of turned to be the opposite way last year because of everything that happened. But I don't know, for Craycraft, I think that's it. He's got to stay in the pocket. He's a good passer, definitely, when he stays in the pocket, but when he's rushed out of the pocket, he's had some trouble.
I remember when he came in, he had a great arm.
I think it's all going to depend on the system that they're running. If we're going in with a new coach, obviously that means there's new schemes, new things. I mean, you can look at kind of some of what they did last year, but a lot of it's going to be different this year, what they're expected to do, and game planning, play calling, all that stuff.
How many coaches are back? Is it just one?
Yeah, just a couple.
Just Peterson?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody
So
else.
it kind of makes you think. Okay, we look at the pieces that they have, right? Do we necessarily know what this new coach's game plan is? How do those pieces fit in to what he wants to do? Might we see some faces that we haven't talked about because they fit better into what he wants to do?
Yeah. I mean, it all just depends on, like you said, his gameplay, his style, and none of us know that right now. We haven't seen it. It's his first year, so we're kind of just guessing on what we saw last year, but it's hard when, like you said, the coaching staff is pretty much erased, and it's a new system that none of us know. So it's kind of hard to guess right now with everything that's going on, especially with the coronavirus. They haven't been practicing, so it's pretty much hard to
There's only
guess.
so many mental reps you can take.
Yeah.
That doesn't replace the physicality part of it.
Isn't Phillips' first year head coach too, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's never been a head coach, whereas at least with Bo, you were like, well, he
Yeah.
did this at Nebraska.
Exactly.
And just to kind of, if you needed a way to emphasize the fact that how new he is to the area, well, not new to the area, he's a Springfield graduate, but he's coming from Cincinnati. When we talked to him on Running Point yesterday, he was talking to us while he was also instructing the movers on where to put the stuff that he was moving to his house. So not only is he dealing with all the stuff that COVID-19 is presenting him, he's still kind of getting himself acclimated to the area and getting moved in. That's some impressive multitasking right there. Multitasking is so important for a coach, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you can prove that you can do that, you can prove that you can do anything.
I mean, I would think it's safe to assume at this point, with him being a new coach, going into this season, that he is behind everybody else, because he probably hasn't even had an opportunity to actually meet the players yet, only virtually.
Virtually,
right? So
I think
that puts you behind, because now you can't build that rapport with your players because you can't physically meet with them to talk and what else.
And the voluntary workouts are going to be open on June 1st, I believe. So that's when the kids are going to be able to come back to campus and start scheduling workouts with the strength and conditioning coaches and trainers and things like that. So I think that's when we're going to see a lot more of the game plans and the way that Doug Phillips is going to run this team kind of mold itself out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys kind of agree with that? Or do you think? I mean, hopefully they get a proper summer where they're able to do things by July that they would normally be able to do.
I don't know. I mean, being a part of it for 5.5 years, it was about the third week of camp. That's kind of when you see what kind of team you are. At least when I was at YSU, it was kind of like the third week of training camp. About what would that be? About middle of August, somewhere in that range. That's kind of where you started seeing who's doing what and what kind of team we're going to have.
Kind of have a feel for who's going to be playing and
yeah, it's usually because about that time you kind of started to see the running backs that were capable of taking the workload that they have. And I mean, I was blessed. I had a great running backs the entire time I was there with Tevin and Martin and Jody and Torian and all them, to where we literally just pounded it down your throat. It was just like, this is what we're going to do. But I had some great leadership too on the defensive end. I benefited by really good teams, but
basically wherever Quinn goes, it's a winner.
They were. I was blessed with good quarterbacks. I mean, Kurt Hess and Hunter Wells were great quarterbacks. Yes. We went to the title game with Derek Avery, Leroy, guys like that played at Nebraska and made it to the next level. David Rivers and all that, and great running backs and just good football. I just had good football that I was a part of. And
then we were remiss to talk about Justice Reese transferring and what kind of plan about that would be going forward and trying to replace him. You go to Virginia Tech. You can't really replace him, but you can try to. What the plan going forward is, I guess.
There's just some guys you can't replace. You can't replace Justice. You can't replace Derek. You can't replace Avery. I mean, Justice came in right when Derek and Avery were leaving, which was good. I mean, it benefited a little bit to have a guy that's kind of that good. But you can't replace guys like that. You just can't.
He's going to do big things at Virginia Tech down there in Blacksburg, I believe. So anytime you get a call from the ACC, I think you're going to take it, or any power conference, really.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't blame him.
It's definitely going to be very difficult to replace him, but like I said earlier, I think there's still a young group of guys that are very talented and have experience that were behind him.
It's going to be more
that'll
of a
be able to
team
step
thing.
up. Yeah,
it'll have to be a team thing because you can't replace one guy with one guy.
Exactly.
And of course, they opened the season on September 4th against Akron. I think that's the date, September 4th. So we're all looking forward to that. A game with a MAC and a game with Akron. I think that's a winnable game. Akron's not a super strong football program. So.
I mean, Akron didn't win a game last season.
Exactly.
So it's a big momentum booster, actually, if Youngstown State would able to travel on the road, beat a MAC school, start off 1-0.
I think they'll bust that one. I'm not sure, but I think they'll bust Akron.
I think they should win that one, yeah. I think they will win it. I mean, I have confidence that they're going to go to Akron and win it.
1-0. That's our prediction. Hopefully, as the summer goes on, we'll have more YSU kind of things to talk about, and we'll have a bigger idea of what to expect. And then hopefully in the fall we can talk about a game every week and break down what the matchup's going to be. But for now,
because you'll be kind of like that debate of should we be in the MAC, kind of see where you're at with that too.
That's very true because
bad MAC, but the MAC nonetheless.
It's very true. And we'll be right back on the Power Hour after this break on a Thursday edition.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at bairdbrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Friday night, he's fresh limousine. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, living the dream. Platform shoes, strutting down the street. It's gonna get hot in here, I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come. So call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it, Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it, Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it and find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts, all within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to a Thursday edition of Power Hour. I'm Anthony Hartwig. On the other side of the table right now, we welcome back Tristan Reynolds. Quinn Pushkar still sitting in his corner with the Kentucky hat on.
This is my corner, Richie.
He's got his back. He's got his back to the wall for some reason.
Yeah, no reason. Just I like the solid things behind.
He needs lumbar support, Rick. He needs solid lumbar support.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
You know, he's got to keep that back straight for the 40-yard dash tomorrow.
Yeah, it ain't happening if it's raining.
Tomorrow?
Oh,
Apparently it's
okay.
tomorrow.
Now we're gonna.
I'm not running in the rain. That's how I blow out legs.
Wait, it's legit tomorrow?
I guess
So
tomorrow.
you guys are doing that 40-yard dash?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I have to.
Oh, nice.
I want
Are
to
you gonna? What's the over/under? Are you gonna beat Eisenstein?
I think it's.
Oh, I should. If I don't, I got bigger problems to worry about.
I think the spread came out. The spread is like DJ minus a length. So.
What
So
time?
Is it just you and him?
Yeah.
Okay.
One heat. You know, and it's not this.
And it's on a football field. You got some cleats for?
Yeah, I got something.
Oh, he's got the DJ's got the nice cleats he brought on the on the running point yesterday.
Yoke's got like 30,000 pairs of cleats. Every time we played a softball game, he had a different pair of cleats on. So, he's got cleats.
Well, last week we talked a lot about Crestview football and the AAC because Tristan's kind of an expert on that. He's played for Crestview. He's been so. You're the Crestview football expert. You're going to live with that, and that's what we're going to call you. But now Rick Daly, voice of Lewisman. Well, let's talk about a little bit of Lewisman football and what are the things you expect from the season this year and maybe some things you expect from the conference as well.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns for Lisbon's side. New coach, new system. You know, haven't had a chance to talk to him. Don't know much because the kids aren't doing anything right now. I mean, they just got the green light to, start lifting and conditioning and stuff. And I have two boys that'll be freshmen, so they'll be a part of that. So I'll have, both sides of the spectrum there from the broadcasting side and the parenting side. So I should be able to get a little bit more info. But, I mean, last year was rough. I'm not going to lie there. It was rough. I mean, they had some games that I thought they were in that they just made some mistakes and, just couldn't close them out. They lost a couple kids. They brought a lot back, and this freshman group that's coming up, that's the group to watch. That's the long-term outlook on this program, that group. And, in my blog I touched on it, why I'm excited for football to be back as a fan, broadcaster, and why I'm terrified for it to be back as a parent. A lot of these freshmen I think are going to play. And, when I was in school, if a freshman played football, that was a rarity. That means they were just that good. A lot of times now you see freshmen playing varsity football because of numbers. They have to. Yeah. They need the bodies. So my concern is, the longevity of it is some of these kids, they get thrown in, they get beat up, heaven forbid they get hurt, and they don't want to play anymore. I don't want to see I never want to see a kid in any sport get ruined because they were into something before they were ready. Now, I'm not going to say that some of those kids aren't ready. I don't know. That's not my determination to make. But I just, as a parent, that's what worries you. Now, I think, like I said, long term, I think they have a foundation there. Coach Aldermore comes in, from Latonia. He was coaching in Salem under Johnson there. He's been a coach for a long time. He did some good things in Latonia, coach with his dad. And I, from what I understand, his dad is on the staff with him. I think they kept a lot of the assistants. Glenn? I'm not 100% sure. They kept a lot of the assistants and stuff. So I would think that a lot of what they do will be similar, but he'll have his own quirks and things that he works into the offense and defense. As a broadcaster, I'm excited because I love football. I get to sit in the booth. I get to call the action. That's what I'm looking forward to. As a parent, again, if my boys are on the sideline the whole season, I won't complain, at all. I don't think that's going to be the case. But,
neither will we on the basketball staff. So.
Yeah. But this year I think it's going to be, it'll be another rough year for him, I think.
How is that league, UAC?
Well, you got, for who we play. So you got Columbiana, you got Southern, you got Palestine, Latonia, United. I don't know if they're playing Mineral Ridge again this year or not. They played Newton Falls last year. I don't know if they're going to play them again. I think
Valley.
Toronto had left the league, but I think they're picking them back up as an out-of-conference game. And then Valley Christian is now in. And then there's one more, and I can't think of who it is because we have 10 games.
The conference has 7.
Yeah, and there's 3 out of conference. So you have Newton Falls, Toronto, Mineral Ridge would be your out of conference if that's what they do. So then you have Columbiana, United, Latonia, Palestine, Southern, Wellsville. That's the other one I was missing. Yeah. Last year, they were in that game with Valley Christian. I think they should have won that game. To me, I think that was the best game they played all year. They go in, play in Latonia.
That was a good game.
Yeah. They go in, they play Latonia. Ferry just runs wild on them, and they can't figure out how to stop him.
He did that on a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
He just ran wild on them. Columbiana, that was the result that I expected there.
They were solid.
Now, the one that surprised me was United. I did not think that we would lose.
Good football team, though.
Well, yeah, but
coming in with the injuries,
right?
And all that,
They come in with the
yeah.
injuries. They're playing all these younger kids, these underclassmen. But again, they didn't have an answer.
Right.
It wasn't like they come in. United came in and did anything flashy. It was a lot of consistency with what they were running, and we just couldn't react to it.
Yeah.
So I think this year, I think they're going to have a lot more of that. Like I said, the longevity of it, I think the program will return to, those days where they were good here in probably another year, 2, somewhere in that range, as that freshman class develops. That group has been together for a long time. Junior high, they lit it up. Now, of course, that's not always an indicator.
You get the separation now,
right?
Yeah.
Now you get your separation and you get them in there. Let's grow them a little bit more because those kids are all growing. Get them in the weight room, get them going. I think long term, I think there's good things coming out of that group because they have all the skill positions covered within that group.
Yeah.
With that group, it's more of they need to just plug in a couple pieces here and there. It's complementary pieces, and I think that team will be fine.
Where are they at in the league? So we mentioned this. If you had to throw them, are they mid? They have a chance to win the league?
No, not this year. No, I'd put them right above Palestine. Yeah.
All right.
Bye, DJ.
Yeah, last year.
I don't know.
Last year it was rough for Palestine. That was the only game Lisbon won.
Yeah.
But that Palestine team was young too.
Mm-hmm.
So just going off of what I saw last year, that's what I expect Palestine to still be at the bottom. I expect Lisbon to be right ahead of them. Southern, Columbiana, those are going to be the 2 teams.
Yeah,
I still think those are going to be your 2 top teams. United it just depends.
For me, it's like Columbiana should win the conference. Southern's going to be competitive.
Yep.
And United is that wild card that you just don't know what. United is always a wild card in football because.
When it was the ITCL, all those schools were, and it still is the same thing. They're all competitive, and I think they're going to be competitive. I still think you're going to get good games, no matter who plays who. I think it's going to be tough every time you play somebody, in my opinion.
I don't know football. in the EOAC other than watching scores and talking to the Lisbon guys.
Yeah.
It seems like you got your top 2, maybe 3, you got your bottom 2, and for the rest is flip a coin.
Yeah.
I mean, Valley, Wellsville, United, all those guys, they had.
See, I forgot
It could fall in anywhere. It could fall in anywhere.
I love the chaos. Chaos in sports is better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can't rule out any team any week, right? But we're looking at this as an on paper thing. Like looking at what's on paper, how do we think it's going to play out? Now they could completely flip, and Columbiana and Southern could be at the bottom, and Leetonia could be at the top. I mean, that's the one cool thing.
I think Leetonia has a good shot.
High school football is there is a lot of unknowns there.
Leetonia's got a legend over there in Paul Julio.
Yep. That's Julio. They return a lot.
When he was at Crestview way back in the day when he first started, dude held it down over there. He did great things, and then he went to Leetonia and turned them around. And they would have made the playoffs that one year.
Yep. I mean, Columbiana's always tough. I mean, Spate's been there forever, and there's your continuity and your consistency there.
There's that continuity we always talk about, how important it is. And
there's consistency there. Down in Southern, you got was the old Beaver local coach,
Coach Wright.
Coach Wright. In Southern, they lost a couple pieces, but not a big thing. They've been competitive, but I mean they've completely redone that program top to bottom. They have a whole system in place, starting at the youth program going all the way up. So that's something that set them up long term.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be consistent, for a good while.
Yeah.
And like I said, Lisbon's coming in with a new coach for the second time in 3 years. Everybody's trying to fill Salimus's shoes, which we know, it's easier said than done. But so you got new system, new philosophies.
Yeah, you never want to be the man who follows the man.
Right, exactly. But I think that's the one thing that works in Lisbon's favor here is, like I said, you have these kids coming in as freshmen. So they have their coach, right? So hopefully this is the only coach these kids know from the time they're freshmen until they graduate.
And that's
I think that's going to be their best chance for success. If in the middle of that thing where they get to be sophomores going into their junior years, if they're looking for a new coach again, I look for the wheels to come off.
Yep. And like you said with Coach Spate being over there at Columbiana, and we'll move it over to Crestview because I've coached in the middle school program over there under Coach Cusick for a while, and he does a great job too, and he's been there. So when you just expect coming up, he's going to be there the whole time, which he will be there. I mean, you know what I mean? He does a good job of middle school wise. We do almost what they do, a little bit watered down, and then by the time they get to high school, it's the same thing, but you just throw in wrinkles. You're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
You're just throwing a little bit in here, a little bit in there, and then by the time they're ready to roll, if they do get in on Friday nights, nothing's new, and it's learned behavior. So
exciting times.
Yeah,
to say the least. The EOAC is going to be exciting.
Yeah, like we said, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be chaotic, and that's always leads to exciting football because a lot of games are going to be flip of the coin who's going to win. And those were fun to call. You had a good time calling Lisbon yesterday?
Loved it. Absolutely.
Not yesterday. When? Last year.
I was going to say yesterday. What the hell was going on yesterday?
Used to me.
I went back and watched some old broadcasts and recalled them.
You did.
Top of myself.
I wouldn't put that past you. I think that's something
Practice.
you do.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect. I love the Lisbon field because you don't have the away stands.
Yeah.
And you're putting. I mean, I think that's one of the better fields. Parking's not exactly great.
As a coach on that side, there's no one behind you, so you can
right?
say what you want to say on this side because there's no parents behind you.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure you never said anything to.
No, you never say.
Nah, you never said nothing.
No, you don't say nothing. I'm just saying you could if you wanted to. If you wanted to.
Yep.
What else in the high school football scene kind of excites you about? Because we're starting to realize that it's becoming more and more of a reality that we're probably going to get football. So.
Well, the expansion of the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah. Are you a fan of? Do you like that?
I mean, I haven't seen the breakdown of how they plan to do it, so I haven't really formulated an opinion per se. I mean, I think it's it's good to increase it because that gives more teams a chance. To get in and to get to experience some of those things. Because I mean, I've always thought that you know, a high school football player should be able to experience that at least once in their career.
Yeah.
You know, to get to something like that. Because I mean, you do it in basketball, you do it in volleyball, you know, all the sports. So just to be able to experience that once, because it's a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole different animal. You know what I mean? It's different than regular football. At least it is to me.
I obviously wasn't maybe even born when they switched it, or I don't know, when they switched it from 4 to 8. That was a good move in my opinion. From now, just looking back at it, that was a good opinion. But the what are they, 12 now?
Up to 12.
Up to 12.
I don't know.
First four get a bye.
It's going to be
the same as basketball.
Okay.
The first 4 are going to get a bye, and
so then the top 4 will have one home game, then it goes to neutral site.
I would assume so.
Okay.
I would assume.
Okay.
I don't know.
And they're also going to start the season 1 week earlier,
Okay.
so that the state championship will still line up on the same day.
Because they're adding another week of playoff
Yes.
games in. I got you.
And basically, the top 4 teams get a bye, and then 5 will play 12, 6 will
Now,
play 10.
so
11.
they've started the season a week earlier. So are they still technically starting April or August 1st, or have they pushed that back a week to give them?
As of right now, I believe everyone's
think they can.
starting or.
So in theory, they're taking a week of preparation away from them.
The week of camp, the first week of
Yeah,
camp.
probably. Yeah, your
You'll
2
probably
days.
shrink it
Your
down.
2 days will be cut back. Your camp days will be cut back. Your conditioning days will be cut back, and you're just going to get into it a little bit quicker than normal. But as a player and even as a coach, sometimes you could probably touch on this. Sometimes you're just like, I'm ready. Like, I think the kids are ready. We're ready. I think we're well.
You can only do so much in camp.
Yeah.
You can
And then it becomes redundant, and then you're trying to find things to fill slots. And sometimes,
I think it would be beneficial to younger teams to have as much time as possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because you're trying to get these kids up to speed, especially if you're unable to have, JV. So you really got to get them up to speed quick, because that game speed is really changing.
Oh, yeah.
Going from junior high, into high school. So now, obviously, some of the teams that have a lot of older players coming back, that time may not be as a necessity as it would be for younger players and new coaches.
Yeah, I was gonna say, not only
that's
new
the other
coaches
thing
and
to it.
younger players.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you gotta create the rapport. Then you gotta. That's the biggest thing is rapport with not only just coaches,
and especially
coaches
this
and
year,
players,
as you've
but
been
players
limited
among themselves.
to what you can and can't do. Those virtual meetings can only do so much.
And those virtual workouts, we don't know if you're working out or not. You know what I mean? It's where you have to put the faith in the athlete.
Well, I'm sure that these coaches have where you send me videos of you doing your workout.
I'm sure there is stuff
So-
like that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm sure that there's always the different side to it. So.
One of the things that we've talked to a couple coaches on Running Point throughout the last couple of weeks, and they've kind of said, whatever changes they make, everyone's going to be on the same playing field. So if you're losing 1 week, everyone's losing a week. So it's going to be fair because everyone's going to be.
It's like if it's raining for us, it's raining for them. If it's
Right.
hot for us, it's hot for them. Yeah. Okay, I get it. I like that.
So that's what the coaches that we've talked to don't have so much of a problem with losing that 1 week at camp as long as everyone's doing it and it's all on the same playing field.
It's like you're the only one that gets to lose it. Us, we're taking it. Yeah.
But the extended playoffs, it also makes it a little bit easier for those schools that play independent schedules to get into the playoffs, and then they could just sweep that region because they're playing Division I schools
We talked
all
about
the time.
that with Mooney and Ursuline. It's you got.
In theory, Ursuline could win like 4 games and be in the top
Ursuline did
12.
win 4 games in 2009 and got in and won. They won state. They ran through it. They came in at 8. They slipped in at 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get hot at the right time.
So
And now if they get in at 11, watch out. It's just more chaos,
So.
Gwen, what are you laughing about? You got something to say?
No, just the thought of that. The team sneaking in and winning state with 3 wins or whatever.
They're gonna, and they were.
That'd be wild.
It's just, I'm not saying it wasn't fair or anything like that, but
Everybody has the same capability though.
Yeah.
Just because Ursuline plays.
Absolutely.
Right.
In 09, they probably played a bunch of Division I schools.
They did. They were playing these teams from
whatever division they were in, 5 or whatever. They could have all done it.
They were playing some D1 teams as a Division 5 team, and that's where some of their wins came from.
Can you imagine if every Division 5 team went out and played like an independent Division I schedule? It'd be fun.
I guess it's how you prepare. I don't know.
Everyone would have like 3 wins, and then everyone would be in the playoffs with like 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, you get in the playoffs, though, it's well-deserved.
That's the argument about on the flip
How many
side.
teams are in a region? What is it, 16?
15,
It
16.
varies. There's not the same
15,
amount.
16. I think it varies, based on.
So we have a high
region.
probability to see teams get in that don't necessarily have winning records.
But when Tristan said, getting the playoffs is a big deal. What it's going to do is there are going to be more teams now that just get in the playoffs. That's going to be big for their community. It's going to be big for their program connection to their community and big for their school. So that's a plus side of this.
I mean, at the end of the day, once you get in the playoffs, it doesn't matter what your record was.
Right. It's a new season.
It's a new season.
It doesn't matter what your record was.
Yep.
Everyone starts at nothing and nothing when you start that bracket play, Who are some teams in the area that you guys might think might be able to make a big playoff run? Obviously, Springfield. I mean, they return a lot of people. They got to have high expectations, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, with what they're having back, and they're very well coached. They have arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the area. So yeah, they can make a run, and even in just, I mean, you got. I think every year you're gonna have a team that's like, all right, we've been building, and then this is our year, right? And they get in and they make some noise. I think you're always gonna have someone. So there's always potential for almost anybody, in my opinion. So.
What about Poland? Made a good run last year. They lost a nice chunk of people, but they still have a good nucleus of players. Do you think Poland can go make another run into the state playoffs?
Who's in that division? Who's out there?
It's the NE8.
It's the NE8, so they're playing South Range, Struthers, Gerard.
That's a tough.
Hubbard.
That's a tough. You're going to battle every Friday night.
I think they're Division 3 playoff ones.
That's tough. Division 3 is arguably one of the toughest.
Hubbard moved up a division this year, so
if you play
that's big. That's big for the whole NE8 because Hubbard moved up, so every NE8 school is going to have another Division 3 team that they're playing.
That's tough. I mean, yeah, you want to say they're going to make a run, but at the same time we don't know until. So it's like a bold prediction, I guess.
Make the bold prediction.
It just depends on where you line up in the bracket too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
some teams match up better against other teams,
I mean, like I said the other day, if you're in Division 2 and you line up against Washington or Hoban first game, you're probably done.
Well, yeah.
It's just how you get lined up in the bracket.
Last year, Poland played a lot of teams that like to kind of space the ball out and pass, but Poland was just a straight up, we're going to run it down your throat team. So they kind of benefited from the matchups that they got last year. And then
I didn't follow Poland too much.
And in that state
Poland.
in that state game, they had it. And they had a lead, and they kind of gave it up. So they got to feel like they have some unfinished business in the state playoffs.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of unfinished business, it's a shame they didn't do it. But Cheney in basketball, oh man. But we talked about
that's way too far off to even start talking about.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was talking about.
I'm not ready for
way
basketball.
too early predictions for basketball.
Way too early predictions. It's still way too early.
This is the Power Hours way too early section.
But okay. Well, then we'll talk about football wise. I think Cheney on the rise can make a run. They got all these. They're so athletic and they're so well coached. The coaching staff over there is
great.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's awesome over there. And you have
Coach Mill did a great job.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The family that he has.
And the offensive coordinator over there,
Seth.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Seth's a good dude too.
Very smart, football-wise. Very smart. Can break it down. Will study film. Very smart. So they have the tools coaching-wise, and they have the tools, athlete-wise. So if it comes together, which it seemed like it was, you look out. I mean, I don't know what division they're in. What? 3 or 4?
Idea. Probably 3. I would say 3. A lot of the teams in this area are 3.
3 or 4, and they can make a run. I mean, they're putting out kids left and right that are going to go play college ball. You know what I mean? So they're producing these athletes, and they're no slouch. So I would like to see, what Cheney brings to the table. I think they're going to do big things, and they just released their schedule, which is a tough schedule too.
Yeah, they play some people.
Oh yeah, so they're going to get their points. They're gonna do big things. I think week 1 they open up against Mooney. So right out of the gate.
I'm excited to have the Mooney, Cheney, Mooney, Urs, those type of rivalries back, because back in the day,
It used to be the Steel Valley or something like that.
Those were huge. I mean, the Steel Valley game. So to see Cheney have Mooney on their schedule, it's just a good thing. Hey, we have a caller. I'm not gonna hang up on him this time.
I won't hold my breath.
This is mine.
Welcome to YSN Power Hour. Who we got on the line?
I was calling the Ron Potesta show.
Oh, you're Ron is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but we'd love to hear from you. This is the Power Hour.
Oh, I wasn't aware of what you guys were talking about, so I'd probably be lost.
You got anything on your mind?
Well, the YSU football team, I know they're shuttered in and not being able to practice. Has the coach talked to the whole team in one spot yet?
No, I don't think the team has been able to get back to campus yet. I think the voluntary workouts start on June 1st, so that's when the players are going to be able to get back on campus. So I think, but until then, I think it's been all virtual kind of conversations with them. And Coach Phillips was on Running Point yesterday. He said that he talks to every player every day, so he's definitely keeping the communication up.
And I noticed that the YSU sports director has eliminated a few jobs. Is it going to hurt more the football team or the basketball team or some of the less revenue sports?
Well, he came out and said basically every sport other than track and field and soccer is pretty much being affected by it. Whether it be salary cuts for their coaches, some coach positions aren't going to be filled, and I think some coaches are taking furlough for a little bit. So just some cuts by salary, nothing to the scale of cutting sports yet. So that's a good thing.
And what about the fan participation? Are they going to have, hopefully they're going to, and as we all know that if you're a YSU supporter, the lack of students at the game over the previous years has really been obvious. But do you think next year it's going to be seating in the stadium is going to be a problem? I mean, it shouldn't be, but do you think it's going to be that 6 feet in between seats, or how do you guys feel about that? You're there on the campus, you hear all the ins and outs.
I think that's going to be the golden question, because having fans in the stands is going to be so important for YSU as far as the revenue that the football team draws and the excitement that it draws. Richie Giuliano was talking about the student involvement and things that he thinks they can do to try to get students back on the field and try to get them back into the stadium. And like you said, it's kind of apparent on how lacking the student involvement is at YSU football games.
And you notice when YSU plays away, especially when they go and play our rivals that has the dome stadium, that the fans are from one end of the end zone to the other end of the end zone. And then when you come to a YSU game, you can pick your own seats. I've been following YSU since 1970, and only during the championship years have I only had in jeopardy of not getting a ticket. But outside of that, how many seats are there? When's the game start? Well, as soon as you can get here, we'll start the game. I mean, we got to have better participation, I think, from the fans more your age than the fans in the senior citizen area that's in my age group.
I agree. It all probably starts with what Quinn said earlier. The product on the field has to get a little bit better.
Sure.
And once the product on the field gets to where it needs to be, then you're going to draw a lot more fans.
Well, I think our previous coach, he was from the old school of coaching and stuff like that, and I think these younger kids today weren't used to the roar of the coach, and some of them didn't respond to it well, and the other kids did, and I think that was he was more used to where he's going to now at the national champion LSU Tigers. He'll get I think a better response from those type kids there than the type of kids we have at YSU. Not saying that the kids are not good or bad, neither or. It's just that the way he coaches is the style that coaches. May I bring up some coaches from the past, the Woody Hayes, the Bo Schembecker, the Frank Kush method of coaching, the hard style, hard-nosed, down and out type, and some of the kids didn't respond to that. And I wish him luck at his new job, and I wish the new coach at YSU luck too.
Well, yeah, we talked to him on Running Point yesterday, and he seems adamantly, he knows the importance of having community outreach and making YSU football something that is a staple in the community. So he's hoping to do that, and he's hoping to bring fans to the stadium.
Well, good luck to you guys, and good luck to your show.
Thanks for calling in, and hopefully we'll hear from you tomorrow with Running Point with Ron. That was Champ, one of the main callers on Running Point, calling into the Power Hour. We appreciate that. We'll take a quick break on the Thursday edition and be back on Power Hour.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
Welcome back to the Thursday edition of the Power Hour. I'm Anthony Hartwig. Alongside me, we have on the guest camera Tristan Reynolds, Rick Daly, and Quinn Pushkar. And we just finished up kind of our high school football talk, and then we talked YSU football a little bit more with the caller. And now, Rick, you're a travel softball coach. We talked about Class B baseball.
Not travel. My daughter plays.
Plays.
Yeah.
But you're in that kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
And tournaments are starting back this weekend. We have the Thunder Elite Perfect Storm tournament in Warren this weekend.
We've played in that before. Mm-hmm.
So how excited are you to see kids back on the field and get back to softball?
I mean, I guess it's one of them. I'm excited, but I'm not. You know what I mean? Because these guidelines and stuff that they're putting in are going to take away a lot from these kids. Excuse me. You know, my daughter's going to be a junior going into next season, and she's playing. But, you know, the one thing that concerns me the most, concerns me some. But, I mean, I think it's good for them to be able to go out and play. But also, I think you're going to see a lot smaller tournaments than what we're used to. You know, because you're not going to be able to have the people there. Everybody's got to be distanced. And, you know, there's only so much room around a field that you can sit as a spectator and, you know, be able to watch and enjoy the games. So I think they're really going to have to scale everything down. So, I mean, which might make the weekends go by faster because there won't be as many teams per se. But on the flip side of that, you're losing teams. So, you know, you may not be getting some of those really, really good teams that are coming into some of these tournaments.
You know, when you talk about smaller tournaments, I mean, the one I mentioned just a little bit ago, the Perfect Storm tournament in Warren, it's going to have only 6 teams in the 18U division, but 16 or more in the 10U, 14U, 12U, and 16U. So they're having a pretty decent sized tournament for the. The weekend.
Is it a caller?
No, we don't have a caller. Oh, now good call. We do have a caller. It might be a softball coach that I lined up. We'll see who it is. Welcome to the Power Hour on the fan line. Thank you so much for calling. Who we got right now?
This is Anthony?
Yes, this is Anthony.
Anthony, this is Andrew.
Andrew.
Matt probably wanted me to give you a call.
Andrew, thank you so much for calling. We wanted to hear from you because, travel softball is starting back up this weekend, and you guys are in the Perfect Storm tournament this weekend. And first, talk about how you feel that softball is back on the stage.
Well, it's actually awesome for the girls. I was sorry to hear that they couldn't have a high school season. They were really looking forward to that. So it's nice. It's going to be nice to see them back on the field, especially some of the seniors that aren't moving on. So they get to. We had 7 seniors, and 4 of them are moving on to play college ball, but the other 3 that high school would have been, or this travel season would have been probably their last season. So it's good to get them on the field.
Andrew, you have a lot of players from this area. It's a stacked lineup when I look at your roster. Highlight some of the players on your team and kind of the things you expect from them this summer.
All right. Brooke Bobby. We'll start out with Brooke. Center fielder. Usually our leadoff hitter, lefty. Likes to slap, always puts the ball in play, rarely ever strikes out. Actually, there's 4 or 5 girls that almost bat 500 on the field. So it's hard for me to make a mistake putting them in the lineup, put it that way, because no matter where I put them, they usually produce. Brooke runs down pretty much anything in the outfield, anything that's hit. So it's also nice when we have decent pitching, and no matter where we put the ball, if they hit it somewhere, our defense holds up, and Brooke's a key to that, the outfield. So another one will be Kylie Gross, multiple positions. She pitches for us. She plays third. She plays short. She really could play anywhere. She's probably one of the most all-around athletes that we have on the team.
It's good to have a utility player like that. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Next would be Allie Natoli, another power hitter. Plays first and third. Plays both corners for us. And I believe she's moving on and playing for Mount Union, possibly. I think is where she's going, but this is actually always been with us off and on every other year because she's older. So she's been with us off and on for about 5 years. Every other year we get her, so it's nice to have her back this season. Let's see, Lauren Mons, another important key to our success. She's a catcher, played for Boardman High School. Would have had a tremendous year this year, and she pretty much catches 99% of our innings for us. And that's saying a lot when you play 7 games on a Sunday to win a championship. So,
Andrew,
who else we have?
Well, once you're playing this weekend, what are some of the guidelines that you guys are going to be kind of keeping to kind of stay with the Ohio mandates? What are some of the things that you guys have to kind of use this weekend to keep in line with that?
All right. One of the biggest changes is going to be with foul balls and playing. The umpires don't carry the balls anymore. So a big change is going to be trying to keep the game going, especially when softball's big in the moment. So if you're waiting for a ball to come back because you have to wipe it down. So that's kind of key. We're going to have to, and defense is going to have to. How they're running it is defense is going to control the ball. So your defense carries your own ball out to the field. You carry it back in when you come off, and then you bring it back out, obviously, when you go back out. So the other team will have their own ball. So anything foul balls where you're on defense, we have to make sure we wipe down and get back in to try to keep the game going somewhat of a fast pace. The other thing is the dugout. They do want us to stay 6 feet apart in the dugout. So they extended the walls of the dugout, so some people may be not in the shade for some of it. We'll probably end up putting a tent up, but that's about it. And that and no high-fiving, it's going to be tough to do that because we're so used to backing our kids as they succeed. And it's I think emotion is a big part of the game. So it's going to be tough to try to get into the rhythm when you can't, you know what I mean? When balls are being smacked around, you can't high five and congratulate them. But so we'll have to figure out a way around that. No, and then the girls, the way these girls work together so well, and they've been together so long. Even the travel girls. I mean, most of these girls have been together since they were at least 12. I have some since they were 9, and they pick each other up all the time. So they're not going to be able to get in there. We have 11 kids on the team, and I mean it's hard to pick a leader because they all will pick each other up. So that's going to be something tough too for them to get used to, that they can't go in groups and congratulate each other, and so we'll have to figure out a way around that too. That'll be something different.
What's this tournament this weekend look like? Is it going to be a pretty competitive bracket for you guys?
Yeah, coming off a long layoff like that, we're it no matter who we play should be pretty competitive. And we moved up to 18U. This is our first year in 18U. So we played a couple tournaments up last year, did pretty decent. So, but I mean, there's so much competition in the area anymore. Kids are working harder all the time, and people are getting their kids batting instruction and pitching instruction. So it's not like it was 15 years ago when I started, where there was a lot of bad teams and only a few good teams. Now everybody's kind of mixed, and there's enough good kids to go around. So really anywhere you go is going to be some good competition, so which is good for the girls.
What's the rest of your schedule look like this summer?
We are in Columbus, Pittsburgh, Findlay, Ohio, Canfield, Ohio. Where else are we at? We have a couple scheduled that we're not sure whether West Virginia's opening up or not going to open it up. So we're just kind of waiting to see on those. But for the most part, that's those 5 or 6 are the ones that we're heading to. I think there's actually 2 in Canfield.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for calling in and talking with us a little bit about your team, a little bit about softball, getting back into the swing of things. Good luck this weekend, and good luck the rest of the summer.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
That was Andrew Latanzio, coach of the Ohio Warriors 18U softball team. And softball is back, baseball is back, sports are back, and we're really excited about it.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you go through something like this, and sports-wise, I mean, it felt like it wasn't it wasn't coming back. There was a good possibility. At one point, I think we could all sit here and think that, we won't have sports. So any guidelines, any restrictions, I think everyone's will accept and move forward, right? In my opinion, to have some type of sports. Mm-hmm. So
one of the things that Andrew talked about that I didn't think about, but was the defense is going to be control their ball. So when you feel the ball into the inning, you're going to carry your own ball back in the dugout and then take it back in when you go back on the field. So there's no exchanging of the balls.
That's so hard for me when we play slow pitch. I grab it, throw it out of the inning. If I get a catch, I just chuck it in the air and just run off the field and let it bounce wherever it bounces. So it's going to be hard for me.
No more of that. And also, I think he brought up the fact that the emotion of the game is going to be kind of haltered because, you can't high-five people. You got to find other ways to kind of share emotion with your team.
And they're gonna have to be lenient, I think, with that, because it's
there's gonna be slip-ups.
It's a reflex.
You're right. It's gonna happen. Yep. I mean, high fives are gonna happen.
And you're gonna be like, oh.
Yes. What the heck?
It's the reaction after it that I want to see.
Yeah.
How are they going to react after they do it, realizing we're not supposed to do it?
I think we're going to see a lot of air fives.
I know. It's going to become the new thing.
But Rick, when we talk, your daughter's in travel ball and everything, and you're part of as a parent, in the summer strains that it puts on, all the travel. He's going to Pittsburgh, Columbus. Just speak into that and how it might be affected with the summer, getting back into work. We talked about it with Class B. A lot of parents are getting back into work.
Right. I mean, a lot of it though, your weekend. So, I mean, I work weekends like every other kind of thing, not a consistent, but I mean, some people do. But a lot of times at a lot of these tournaments, you'll see one parent because, the other has to work or whatnot. So, I mean, in regards, it's not, they don't do it a lot during the week, which is the nice thing. You know, it's kind of held to the weekends only, which a lot of people are available. You know, they're able to go, they're able to get out. But then again, I mean, with the limitations on what you're going to be able to take for people, you know, I think you're going to see a lot of just one parent at these tournaments, just because they're trying to keep the numbers down, you know, and saying that people can only bring so many people, because you have to have room for everybody. You know, if everybody's got to be 6 feet apart, and, you know, they're going to probably park them 6 feet apart. I mean, everything now shrinks to what you're able to do.
And he said,
and it's going to be I think it's going to be a learning process.
Andrew said it like you have to, if you're going to extend the wall of the dugout, you have to make sure that the players that are outside of the dugout are still in the shade.
Right.
So you got to put out.
I mean, there's a lot of safety stuff that goes into. You know what I mean? Like, it's new to everybody, so it's the unknown at this point, because nobody knows how it's going to go until it actually happens, and you know, you see how everybody adjusts to it, and
I think it's definitely be trial and error.
Yeah.
And by the time they figure it out,
it'll be over.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
All right, last week we got it, and then it's our last week of travel softball.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yep.
You can attest, because you're a parent, how intense the travel softball kind of is.
It is.
And
yeah, it is.
I think everyone's kind of chomping at the bit to get back to it, because there's so much riding on travel softball.
I mean, I know my daughter's missed it. You know, she enjoys sports in general. She was really bummed out about there not being a high school season. I mean, I used to be really, really bad as a parent, like yelling, screaming, everything, and I've actually really mellowed out. Like, I don't normally say anything. I just kind of sit there, you know, and just take it all in. Now, football's a different story. But
you're still yelling in football?
Well, and I can't now because I'll have a headset on. So that's the one thing that
saves
me. Yeah, that's the one thing that works out good for me.
Anytime you hear a break in Rick's broadcast,
you know the mic's been cut. But you know, you see a lot of parents. I mean, they get into it, you know, which is awesome. You know what I mean? But the one thing, like this is what I want to see. We're talking about the trial and error thing, right? So this is what I'm waiting for, because it happens, and it's going to happen this year, and I want to see what they do about it. You know, end of the game, that girl hits the game-winning home run, right? Normally, everybody's gathered around home plate. She's rounding the bases. They come in. They're all together. They're celebrating. What do they do? How do you celebrate that?
From dugout. Yeah.
You know, like that's one of those things that, you know, like that deserves celebrating.
Absolutely.
So how are they going to handle it? What are they going to do? Are they going to go out on the field, have the defense lead, make one big circle around, because everybody's 6 feet apart, and then put that person in the middle? I mean, you know,
that's like any sport, like something like a buzzer beater to win a basketball game, or a walk-off home run, or you know, a game-winning goal. You dogpile.
The emotion.
That's where you do it and you say, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Like the emotion takes over.
It does.
You know what I mean?
I forgot.
Like I see it happening. And not like purposely. It's just that's the natural reaction.
Yeah.
That is what they've been doing for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Even I still play slow pitch softball, and something like that happens, we all run out there like we're little kids.
Right.
And
the emotion takes over.
Yep.
You know, parents. I mean, everything. They're jumping up and down. They're at the. You know what I mean? Just everything. I want to see that. I want to sit back and see that. You know, like as a scope, because you know you go to these travel tournaments and you're always hearing the background noise from other fields as other things are going on. You know, you hear those home runs, you hear these things. I want to see how they're going to approach that, because who's gonna police that stuff?
You can't.
You know, you can't.
I mean, and then
unless the umpire comes out and says, you know, there's a warning or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, at the same time, is the umpire really? You know, like even the umpire in their heart's going to be like,
dang.
Like,
you know, what do you do?
Yeah, how many warnings are you going to give out?
Yeah.
'Cause it's going to happen more than once.
Yeah.
And you can't like eject someone for giving someone a high five. Or
No.
at least I don't think you can.
No. I mean, they might be able to. I don't know.
Who knows, man? That's the thing. If the umpires or the refs or even AAU, you know, if they're come out and they're too gung ho and they're too strict, then I think it's going to cause problems.
Yeah.
But I think everyone has to be open minded, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know.
Yep.
How we don't know how they're going to react there. We don't
Yeah.
know how the umpires are going to react. We don't even know how the fans are going to react. It's sitting there just watching it. We don't know. And trial and error, like we said before.
You can question it and say, okay, In the guidelines, it says in the dugout they must be 6 feet apart. When they're in the field and the ball gets put in play, the social distancing guidelines are out the window.
Yeah.
Well, think of it this way.
So
What are
if
they
they're
gonna do?
doing that there,
What are they going to do if you hit the walk-off and dogpile? Then what are they going to do? Tell you can't do it?
Game's over. You
All
gotta
right.
take
Well,
it.
You know
I'll
what?
do it. Sorry.
I know you just hit that walk-off home run, but you came out and you dogpiled. Damn it, you lose.
yeah,
You lose.
yeah. Guess what? You don't get that run now.
Like, what are you going to do?
We're giving it to the other team.
Yeah.
Then you got another dog pile. You know, like,
Yeah.
but it's just that's what it is. But it's the thing, like you look at the guidelines and you can break it down and go, okay, like I see what they're trying to do. Look, I'm all for trying to protect the kids. Like that's obviously I don't even want to see those spectators. I don't want to see anybody get sick or whatever. But you know, there has to be limitations too when you look at it and of the validity of it and say, okay, do we have the kids' best interests here? Because like as a parent, you know, my daughter, when she gets hot, you know, she can get lightheaded and she sweats, you know, bad, and that's my fault. And she always says, "Thanks, Dad." You know, pale skin and big pores is what apparently she got from me.
Genetics is a powerful thing.
Yeah. So, you know, when the kids go into the dugout, then they have to wear those masks, right? Well, we all know those masks restrict your oxygen flow, right? So if you're hot,
If she goes first to third, and then she gets. If she goes, you know, she's on
Right.
first, she gets ripped, and she goes to third, and then
Right.
she comes in.
You go in
expect
and
them to
you're
put it
putting,
on?
yeah, you're
We
putting that
talked
mask
about
on.
it, but I mean, I think Tristan brought this point up. When that kind of situation happens, I'm sure they're going to let that player have a minute to kind of walk around.
What's the timeline now? That's you know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, here's the guidelines. These are the rules they have to follow.
They're gonna have to give you
so
a timeline.
it's all up to
That's a good
interpretation.
thing. It's a good thing about that word guideline, because
Yeah.
guideline is not rule. Guideline is like, well, you know, use your own judgment. So
Yeah.
kind of like the Pirates code. It's
Because
one
you
guideline.
kind of wait because you know there's going to be that one team
Right.
that they just throw it out the window.
Mhm.
And you know what I mean?
You're gonna
Well,
come
then
be-
vice versa, you're gonna have that one team that's watching like a hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
30 seconds, didn't put the mask
When
on.
they got their phone out and they're just reporting violations, you know.
It's gonna go both ways.
Yeah.
It's gotta go.
They're
both
taking
ways.
pictures over
Yep.
there in the dugout with their
Yep.
phone.
Yep.
Violation.
Mhm.
Oh man, don't be that guy.
No, don't be.
Don't be that guy.
The biggest thing is you don't.
Don't be either one of those guys.
From a coach's standpoint, you don't want it to take away from their ability to coach. If they, you know, they have to police those guidelines and make sure the girls are following them, that's on them. That's fine. But they still have to be able to coach. They can't be worrying about if all that stuff is being followed and not being able to coach on that field, because that just hurts the girls.
You're right. You're right. And I'm interested to see like softball, baseball coming back. Q is a AAU coach, and they're starting back up soon. So that's probably going to be more interesting than softball and baseball because they're a foot apart on the court. And then like the bench thing, I asked Q, and like you said, you don't know what they're going to do. The bench thing is going to be even sticky because what they're going to have to wear a mask on the bench, or they're going to have to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
So like basketball is going to be interesting when AAU picks back up.
Well, same thing
Or
with
even
football.
summer league, yeah.
Football's going to be the big one.
They're a little bit more obstacles for basketball because it's indoors.
You're touching. You're almost touching someone every like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Stop and disinfect the ball every time they pass it?
Every free throw, give me that ball.
You know what I mean?
You're technically not allowed to pass one ball anyway. Everybody has to have a ball.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
Can you
like,
imagine just everyone actually running down the court with their own ball?
It's diving, and then you just point to the guy and he starts dribbling. That's the ball we're using. And then he's like, okay, it's a pass. You got it. Now he's dribbling. I mean, you know, that would be something. But I mean,
what the hell
but
is
that's the
going
thing.
on?
Like, you know, we're how far out from that? We don't know what's going to happen.
About a month.
You don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's the big unknown.
But I'm glad they're actually taking steps because there for a while they're just like, no, we're not gonna do it. And now they're trying to figure it out. That's the biggest thing, and that's really the most important thing is figuring it out. And like I said, there's something about Ohio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something about Ohio.
Yep.
They're figuring it out. They're doing some good things, and we're gonna play some ball here soon.
Well, the good thing is we were one of the first states to kind of come out and use the extreme measures to get ahead of this, and now we're one of the first states to get the sports back because we're able to do that. And well, let's remember this is the first week back too. Like we just reopened sports on May 26th. So as the weeks go by, this thing is so fluid. We might come out and say, you know, this thing we don't have to worry about transferring on surfaces as much as we thought we did. So the ball guideline kind of goes away, and we could see guidelines kind of fall as the week goes on. I think there have been subtle changes in the guidelines for travel softball all throughout the week. So they're going to continue to kind of
tweak
the guidelines as we learn more about the impact of sports and the spread of this disease kind of goes into the summer.
I'm all for them being able to play, like the older kids. I think it's best that the younger kids not play right now, just because of the guidelines and trying to protect them. And you know how little kids are. They're running out of the dugout.
They don't understand.
You know,
don't touch your friend.
Yeah,
don't
exactly,
go touch your friend.
Exactly. Like they don't get that. And by the time they would understand,
they don't know what
don't drink out of Sally's water bottle. By the time they would understand, the season's over.
Right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? You spent that whole time. Now with the older kids,
they get it.
They understand. You know, the high school kids and stuff. They understand that. So you're not really worrying about it so much as you would with a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old running around. You know, because I mean, as a softball coach, I can tell you every time I turn around, I got girls missing in my dugout, and I don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
But they're out there with their parents. You know what I mean? Or they ran to the bathroom and didn't tell anybody. You know, it's like you tell them if you got to go, tell us. They don't. They just run off, and then you're looking for girls because they're up to bat next. You know, like that's what you deal with.
Guys, where's Megan?
You know,
not in the dugout.
Where did those nachos come from? Must be Quinn's kid eating in the dugout. You know.
Nah, that'd be me.
Yeah,
I'd be eating them.
But that's what you run into. I mean, the little kids, they just, you know, they're with their friends, they're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fully understanding the game like the older kids are. You know, they're playing it for a different reason.
They don't
you know
know
what I mean?
The social distancing and all that.
Right.
Even when we got quarantined there for that little hot minute, little kids don't understand that, and it's
No.
hard to explain it to them. Like, why can't I go to little Jimmy's house?
Because I said so. You know, that's not all you can do. I mean, that's pretty much all you can tell them. Because anything else, they're just like, what?
Yeah. So you're right.
I had that with my 9-year-old.
Yeah, and you can't just say
she
you'll
just
get-
kind of quite was like,
Well,
you know, kind of does, kind of doesn't.
And like Little League is coming back in the area, but they're taking even more time than Class B to kind of make sure they have their all the ducks in a row, and they make sure that
You have to.
because you have to be a little bit extra cautious with the little kids.
Yeah. But like I said, you know, I coached softball and I was there when they voted to not play. And like I said earlier, to me, the thing is you have to not be able to restrict the coach's ability to coach. That's why we're there. You know, we'll do whatever. I mean, we volunteer. We're going to have the kids' best interests at heart, don't get me wrong. So we don't want your kids to get sick, period. But I also, as a coach, I want to have the ability to coach my kids.
Which you
know,
should.
Which you should.
Which you should.
So, you know, again, back to the little kids thing, with how those guidelines originally came out, to try to enforce that to a 6, 7, 8-year-old, I feel like instead of being able to move my defense on the field and everything else, I'm going to be like, do you have your mask on? Where, you know, and that's what I'm going to be doing the whole time. Whereas you have those 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, they're not running off. They're in there and they're into the game. They're invested into the game.
Because they understand it, they get it a little bit.
Right.
Yep.
You know, some of them younger kids are not like that. They're throwing rocks.
And they just want to go get ice cream after the game.
Yeah, and they're there because their friends are playing. You know what I mean? Like they're hanging out with their friends.
Yep.
And to that point, there's a little bit more at stake for the the older players.
Exactly.
because they're playing for college scouts or whatever, you know, to increase their.
If you're playing by the age
product.
of 16, you're playing for a reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you're playing for a reason, you better understand, all the guidelines that are put down and take those seriously.
Right.
If you want to play, because that's the only way you're playing.
Yeah.
Is if you take those seriously.
Yep. Unless you hit a game-winning home run.
Right. Then it's all game-winning home run at the end of the tournament, because you don't want them to say, well, you're not going to play the championship.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Don't hit your home runs till the championship game.
Exactly. I like that idea. Well, we're gonna before we take a quick break, we're gonna have a trivia question. We're gonna see if Mr. Eric Bailey can get one again, because he's been sweeping them since.
I don't think he's watching today. He was in Zoom meetings.
Oh,
with
he
Salem,
did
so.
tweet out that he was going to retire on top. So, because I mentioned him, I said, "Hey man, I'm going to have to try harder to stump you," and he said, "I'm going to retire on top." So, but it's still going to open up to you three and whoever else wants to try to answer on Facebook. Trivia question today. On October 27, 2002, Emmitt Smith broke the career rushing yard record. Whose record did he break? We'll have your answers after the break, and we'll see what our fans say as well. Come right back on the Power Hour Thursday edition.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced reporters
A new Wilmington
At
restaurant.
GM Lordstown,
telling more local stories
We'll look at
baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
Community in Niles,
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
Important for everyone.
No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
The details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Today in the showers, I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Welcome back to the YSN Power Hour. I did that twice today. I am a host. I almost said ghost. I'm host Anthony Hartwig, and Thursday edition of the Power Hour, and we're got a different three. We brought in someone from the bullpen. To kind of be
sums up your career, I think, doesn't it?
He started for us. He
started in the field.
He started, and then as a position player, he had to come in as a bullpen because Tristan was pitching so badly. I mean, god awful. Gave up like 6 runs in 1 inning. So anyway,
I was surrounded by ball players too when growing up.
You were.
Like all of you guys
Name
played
drop 'em.
baseball.
Name drop him. Come on.
Nah, he played baseball. Everybody in the
Our
area
whole
played.
neighborhood. We had a stud neighborhood of baseball players.
And I'm the only one playing basketball.
Wiffle ball every day in the side yard, and he'd always come
Whiff.
over with a basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put the whiff in wiffle ball.
I did.
Well,
I did.
Before we went to
It was
break,
either quarter mile or a strikeout. So.
before we went to break, we asked the trivia question of the day on October 27th, 2002. I got the actual date. I did some research.
Bailey did reply about that.
Emmett Smith broke the career rush record. Whose record did he break? We'll go with your guesses, and then we'll get what Eric Bailey, our guru, says. So, Quinn, who are you guessing?
Walter Payton.
Yeah, that was mine too.
Rich?
Who is Walter Payton?
Oh, he's putting. Yeah, see, he gets right. He puts in the form of a question.
Touche.
Does that make me
Touche.
Alex Trebek? Because
No, you're not Canadian.
I'm not on that level.
No.
Should
You're not Canadian.
I should have said this. I should have said this question in French. Je l'appelle. I don't know French. But
Obviously.
What did? Sacre bleu. What did Eric?
He said Walter Payton as well. He's a Cowboy fan, so he has that advantage.
Let's see.
I'm trying to trick Eric Bailey, and I didn't even know he was a Cowboys fan.
He knows. He knows.
Oh,
a lot,
I
man.
will. I'm
He's
gonna stump him.
trivia
on this
guru.
time.
I highly doubt
It's
it.
gonna be Stump the Schwab now, and I'm
man.
I mean, you want to play trivia, you could say, who is going to be the player that breaks Emmett Smith's record?
That's not trivia. That's an opinion.
That is an opinion.
It's not like you can't have a distinct answer.
There's no
for that.
answer.
Sure you can.
It's only one answer. I mean, it's Frank Gore. Right? It's the only one.
It's the only one that'll be close, because I think the days of a workhorse running back are over.
Unless Peterson finds a fountain of youth.
He has been looking for it, I say.
Yeah, but how far is he behind Gore?
I think he's ahead of Gore.
I don't think
He
so.
might be ahead of Gore.
I don't think so. Gore's
Those
like,
two are up
Gore's
there.
top
I think
four.
those are the top leaders currently.
Last I
Gore's
heard, Gore
three,
was
isn't he?
ahead. I think he's, yeah, I think
three.
he's,
Frank Gore's, I think he might be 3. I'll look that up.
I think
he
he
was
passed Curtis Martin.
I'm pretty sure he's 3.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just take a little look.
Quinn, our in-house researcher.
Frank Gore is 3rd. You're right. Well done.
I think he only needs, like, what is it, like somewhere over 2,000
Peterson's
yards?
5th.
Fifth.
Peterson's 5th.
So he's
Frank
still got.
Gore
He has
is
to pass Bettis. No, he passed Bettis. He's just got to pass Curtis Martin.
Peterson is 5th. Barry Sanders is 4th. Peterson's only 50 yards behind Barry. Frank Gore 3rd, then Walter and Emmett. Frank Gore is 3,008 yards behind Emmett Smith.
So about 15 more seasons.
Yeah.
At the pace
Just
he's
about.
going.
Yeah, just about.
By the way,
Peterson is 4,000.
just to be official, the answer was Walter Payton. And Emmett Smith has, 18,000 some career rushing yards? 355 career rushing yards. So that's one. I mean, we talked a couple weeks ago about the records that will never be broken. That's got to be up there on them. I mean, it's going to be hard for someone to break it.
I was just looking the other day. I didn't realize Fitzgerald was so close to Jerry Rice's yardage record.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a couple more seasons, he'll break it.
What's he at? What is the record?
18 something. And
Don't worry. I'll pull
research
it up.
department?
It's all.
It's 18,
I'll get it. I
it's
got everything
18
else.
something, and Fitzgerald's like 2,000 away, somewhere in that range.
Jerry's at 22,895 receiving yards. Larry's at 17,083, which is
So
not
tough.
far off.
Yeah, not
It'll
far
be
off.
tough.
It's tough, but it's not far off.
Well, Larry keeps coming back for a year, so
Yeah.
now he's got. I'm kind of high on Kyler
He's
Murray,
closer in receptions.
I mean,
though.
Larry Smart's doing the 1 year.
In receptions,
Oh, yeah.
Larry's a lot closer.
For sure.
Larry's about 150 catches away from Jerry Rice. That's probably
about
more
3
doable.
seasons or so.
Yeah, that's probably more doable than
If
the
you keep
yards.
signing these 1-year deals, you can do it.
Yeah,
As
but
long
as
Rice
with that, just
played
get him a
until he
good
was like
quarterback.
44.
You just get him a good quarterback.
That's what I'm saying. After the 1 year, he could
Yeah.
go wherever he wants and get a good quarterback.
Go down to Tampa.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Stop it.
Here we go.
Add another one on that record.
Yep, he'll set a career low with like 3 yards per catch.
That's fine. He'll catch about 700 passes in a season.
Did you see Rick's blog where he called you out about the Tom
I
Brady?
did. I did.
I did.
You're not a Brady fan.
It's Not that I'm not a Brady fan,
He's
but
just
we're just
sour
talking
that
about
Brady
dark
always
horse
wins.
MVP candidates, and he throws Brady out there.
That is
It's like,
absolutely a dark horse.
not a dark horse.
Yes,
It doesn't count as it. Do you count Tom Brady as a dark horse?
How
the
can
I wouldn't say
NFC?
he's a dark
Because he's already been an
horse, but
MVP.
Doesn't matter.
He's definitely an MVP candidate.
I would not
Yeah, he's
classify
an MVP
anybody that
candidate,
has
so he's-
previously won an MVP as a dark horse.
Okay, if he
MVP.
played for the Titans, would he be a dark horse MVP
No.
candidate?
No, he would not be a dark horse.
You're a liar. Listen, I agreed with you. Derrick Henry's the best running back in the NFL. So
Oh, there's. No doubt
I agreed
about
with you on that one.
Hands
Just be
down.
nice.
Statistically, it's Nick Chubb.
Well, Nick Chubb had a breakout year. I mean, he's got to be consistent with it.
The thing
Derrick Henry has to be
the thing
consistent
I worried
somehow.
about, he's from Georgia, and Georgia has a long history of overusing their running backs, and because they're a running team, they've always been a running team, and their running backs have had injury problems over the years. Todd Gurley, no Sean Moreno,
Still some pretty good running
Yeah.
backs, though.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
good running backs, but
Yeah.
you know their career has been shortened because Georgia kind of uses them
Right.
up.
But the Browns use 2 running backs now.
They do,
So
and that's gonna help because Nick Chubb
gonna
can't be
help.
the premier guy. He's already had one ACL injury.
adding Kareem Hunt was absolutely huge. I mean, he's even a great blocker as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Kareem Hunt catches
I
out.
like that move.
He catches out of the backfield really well. too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great back, great secondary back.
Yep.
Helps them out a lot. Helps Chubb out a lot. Helps
You,
Baker out.
Richie, you missed our high school football discussion, but you call games for a lot of teams in the
Uh-huh.
area. What kind of feel did you get from all the teams that you kind of saw, and what are you expecting from this season?
Well, one team that
We
I
brought
really
up-
liked.
We brought up Cheney. I mean, I know you
Yeah,
called a couple
I
of
was
their
gonna,
games.
I was gonna say I called a couple of their games. I really liked Cheney. They had a bunch of young athletic
Yes.
kids that just didn't have much experience. You could kind of tell, but towards the later half of that season, they were starting to gel and they were playing some really good football. And I called their game against Howland, and they dominated Howland. They played really well, and their quarterback was young, and he went better as the game went on. And I think that's how it's going to be for his career. And he's a good leader, and I think they got a great coaching staff over there, and I think they're going to be a good team here in the future. That's definitely the team that I circled after the year was over from the games that I got to call.
Do you think? I mean, can Cheney make a deep run in the playoffs?
I mean, they have the athletic ability to.
Yeah.
I think
Do you know what division they're in?
they're in the same one as like Mooney and them.
Mooney dropped, though.
They're in that what's it
I
called?
know they're in the Still Valley Conference.
Still
what
Valley
division
Con.
are they in for the playoffs?
I'm guessing 2.
2?
It should be in 2.
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know what division they are. 'cause I
We
was
said it
thinking of that,
before.
too.
I'm just happy
Two's
to
gonna be
see
tough for
Cheney
them.
and Mooney play each other again.
Yeah.
That was such
It's
a
gonna
big
be a great
rivalry
matchup.
back in the day.
That's
Cheney
week 1,
Mooney.
isn't it?
Week 1,
Week 1.
Cheney Mooney. That's my game on the calendar that I circle week
Yeah.
1. It's like, man, that's gonna be fun.
That's a big one. Cheney and Mooney, that's huge matchup in Youngstown, and I really like Cheney. I mean, they're athletic. There's nothing else to it. They're just athletic.
What are your thoughts on the extended playoffs and going from 8 teams to 12 teams in every region?
I like it. I mean, it gives more teams an opportunity to go farther, and obviously more upsets to come through with that. And I always thought high school football players were too limited. You know, there was just only a certain amount of teams. You had to be really, really good to make the playoffs. And I like how they kind of extended that, where you could have a good season and play really good competition and still get in. So I like what they did with the extension.
Yeah, one thing that it does hurt those teams sometimes is who they're playing.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not getting points. You know,
Exactly.
that they would, and you see some really good teams that miss out on the playoffs that I think would have some really good games with some of those other teams, but they just due to
their strength of schedule
exactly
too heavy.
Yep.
And they have so many losses because they're playing some of the top programs around the area or even in the state. So
Yep.
I like how they extended that. Gives those teams in that kind of area a better chance of making the playoffs.
What I like is they're going to be 2 rounds with home football games. So the top seeds in the first round, where the first 4 get a bye, all those top seeds are going to host a playoff game. So you're going to see a 8 seed get to host a playoff game against a 9 seed, which in the old days 8 seeds always had to travel up to the 1 seed. So now that 8 seed, not only do they get a home game, but they get a home game against a team that's seeded below them. So it drastically changes the scope of those 8 seed games.
Definitely. I mean, that's a drastic change, like you said. And 8 seeds never played at home, and that'll be cool because an 8 seed that had a good season, played a good strength of schedule, like we just said, didn't get one of the top seeds, but they still have a chance to play on their home turf in front of their home crowd for a playoff game. That'll be exciting.
And we talked about it. I mean, when your team makes the playoffs, it's just big for your community. It gets community involved. And now, not only is your community involved, but hey, you get a home football game that everyone can kind of go to.
And it makes more money for the state too.
More money.
Because
Yeah, that's
it'll be sold out.
That's I think that's probably one of the big reasons
That's
why.
the only reason.
Yeah, because you think
there's
some teams and schools have to travel a long distance to go play a playoff game, and if their fan base might not think that they have a shot, they might not travel. But now that they're playing at home, everybody will be there. So it's definitely a moneymaker.
There's certainly no coincidence that that extension came in 2021. After the year where they stand to lose a lot of money.
Yeah, they got to get some money back somehow, and what a better way than host more home playoff games? That'll generate most of your revenue, because football, they said it's more than half of their revenue from high school playoffs. So,
but I will say that we had Tim Street on Running Point a couple days ago, a couple of shows ago, and he's the director of communications for the OHSAA, and he did say that proposal has been on the table from the coaches for a while. So it's not necessarily a direct knee-jerk reaction to this COVID-19 thing and the fact that they're losing money right now, because the coaches are the ones that have been bringing it up. So it's not like they got together and said, "Oh, let's regain our money and just make this happen." It's been on the table for a while.
Yeah, I think
coaches have wanted this for a while.
I think there is like a coincidence though that they finally approved it this year, because they kind of realize that they're going to be missing out on a lot of money this year from several sports and
basketball,
the playoffs.
Missed the state playoffs for basketball.
Baseball season.
Baseball, softball is gone. So that's a lot of money. And then you got to think that how much are they going to make for football if they have a season? So
but are they really making much during baseball and softball?
Well, they only make the revenue from the tournaments.
The tournament.
Okay,
that's all they get.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
I know a lot of those fields, you get in for free.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I think the high schools, most of them don't charge to come watch a regular season game. But once it gets to the playoffs,
then they start charging for parking.
Yeah, that's how they get you the parking.
The parking is with the money that goes
free
to the
admission,
schools.
$20 parking.
The schools get you with the parking, and then you have to pay the admission for the OHSAA.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the schools.
Yeah, I think the parking money goes straight to the schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the tournament.
OSHA can't charge parking.
Oh, they can't. Okay.
No, because you're not using their.
It's not their
parking.
facility.
Yeah, it's not theirs. Yeah.
True. But I mean, the high school fields also aren't really their facilities, are they?
No, but it's the schools.
But they govern them.
I don't think really many people charge parking anyway, though. At the end of the day,
I mean,
just like he said, just around tournament time.
Yeah.
Yeah, tournament time when you're getting people, and like I said, when come tournament time, you can't rely on this. The gate is split between you and the OHSAA, so you have to get your school's money somehow. So you're going to charge parking.
I think the OHSAA does it right though.
Yeah,
the way that they govern schools and everything. I mean,
And
they could charge for other things, but they just
for
don't.
a long time, there's been no admittance fee for schools to be in the OHSAA.
Yeah.
Never will be.
And there used to be, and I don't think there ever will be again.
Yeah.
So
there won't, because teams won't do it.
Yeah.
Why do it when you could create your own free league? Doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Everybody loves things that are free. I just made that up on the spot.
If it's free, it's for me.
Sure.
Rick, you wrote a great blog last week, and I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show, but talk a little bit more about the mixed feelings that football season kind of brings to you as a parent, and how excited you are as a fan, but then how kind of uneasy you are about it as a parent.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, my excitement level is as a fan and broadcaster. And football's my sport. I love it. I eat, sleep, I breathe it. Now, going into this year is a little bit, I guess, more special to me because my twin sons will be freshmen, so they'll be playing, which I got to do it last year with my daughter in volleyball, calling those games, so now I get to do the same thing. And that's a cool thing for a parent to be able to do. But as far as being torn, it's, like I said, I'm excited for football as a fan and announcer, but I am terrified for football as a parent. I touched on it before, back when I was in school, if a freshman were to play high school varsity football, it was because they were pretty special. Like they were, as an outstanding athlete, they're going in because they're standing out above everybody else. Now, anymore, you see it because the numbers are just down. They don't have the players, so a lot of these kids are being forced, in. Whether it's special teams, and if it's even only for a play or two a game, but they're being forced in. So as a parent, it terrifies me because you're taking 14-year-old kids and you're throwing them out there against 18-year-old kids, and you worry that something, catastrophic can happen to where they get injured, they just get beat up, and they don't want to play anymore. To me, that's like the ultimate dagger. Like if my boys come to me and say, "Dad, I don't want to play football anymore," it's just gonna rip my heart apart. Because of something that I guess would be, say, avoidable, right? Because they weren't thrown out there when they quote unquote weren't ready. Now, it's not my decision to say that they're ready or not. As a parent, I don't think they're ready. I mean, that's just my mentality and everything else. And I could be wrong. They could go out there and just light it up and, that's it. And then if that's the case, great. But you still, as a parent, you have that in the back of your mind. Especially after what happened last year with my one son getting laid out in the middle of a game, having to go to the hospital, everything else. Like that really weighs on my mind. Because if he takes a hit like that from a 250-pound kid that's 18 years old, that is a lot different than, it's a big jump. But I mean, there's nothing like high school football. I can't get that, the cowbells and the yelling and screaming, and just the atmosphere, the weather, the air breathes differently, the water tastes better, it's one of those things. So the atmosphere and the thing, that is awesome. But, as the numbers have dwindled over the years for the turnout for the players that are coming out to play, and, the enrollments, class sizes are smaller and whatever else, so you're not getting, as many kids. So you're seeing some kids out there that, maybe not should be playing at this point. I don't, like I said, not for me to decide. Just worries me as a parent for my kids. In a perfect world, they go out, everything's fine, and we're good to go. But then you still have that little nightmare scenario in the back of your head. And I'll probably have that till they graduate. I have it now with my oldest daughter, playing volleyball and softball and everything else. You worry that your kid's going to get hurt. There's nothing you can do to prepare them or prevent it. It's either going to happen or it's not.
Definitely understandable, and it's something that I think a lot of parents kind of aren't open about, aren't transparent about. And I commend you for writing a blog about it and letting everything kind of be out there on the way you feel about football and how excited you are about it, but then the mixed feelings you have about it. I thought it was a great read.
Thank you. Might have been the only one that read that.
Well, you got one supporter.
Hey, that's right. One's better than nothing. We'll get there. Baby steps, man. I'm telling you, one of these days, one of these hashtags is going to come off.
So you talked about your kids playing and you announcing as well. How cool would that be?
Yeah, I mean, it is. You don't, and it doesn't hit you. It didn't hit me until I actually did it for my daughter. Yeah. Because then you have to be I always tried to be biased, right? Yeah. Now, when Dana was commentating with me, she was trying to nudge me into it, that's your daughter, and I'm just like, nope, I'm not. It's the same, as it is. Football could be a whole different story. Just because of how excitable I can get, and I can, it's a whole different animal. Because during volleyball season, I was learning. I didn't know anything about volleyball, so I'm trying to learn all this stuff. Football, I know. So it's something happens and I see it. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't promise anything.
I can relate to that.
Richie gave me that look.
But it's awesome. I mean, that's the coolest feeling in the world. Not just to be able to sit in the stands and watch it, but to be able to broadcast it in something that will be there for years. Yeah. That they could go back to. You know what I mean? That is awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, for every one of your kids, right? You'll be able to call their games.
Yeah, my youngest is 9, so I got some time before she's up there, but. My oldest she'll be a junior, and then my boys will be freshmen, so I'll get a little break.
Another good thing about calling your kids' games, you have a lot of room to talk during dead air. You could just mention random facts that the audience wouldn't know. It's always a bonus.
See, and that's the thing. I try to stay away from that. Yeah. I don't try to not act like that's my kid, but I don't want to talk about my kid. I want to talk about something else. Yeah. That's just me. Because I know my daughter especially would not want me talking about her.
Yeah.
Talk about somebody else.
But I feel like you have to talk about her once in a while, just so doesn't feel so
I try to
clean,
avoid it. You know, like I said, when I was calling volleyball games with Dana and stuff, she was nudging me that way, and I was able to pull the reins back and not do it so much. But then I just got into like the ebb and flow where during the match I was able to just call it, and it was like nothing. If my daughter had a kill or an ace or whatever, it was just like anybody else. It wasn't like I'm over the top, like, yeah, my daughter, you know. I'm able to call it consistently across the board.
She's better than you.
Yeah, like I'm able to call that consistently across the board. In football, I don't know. If one of my boys comes through and hits a quarterback, I don't know how I'm going to react until it happens. You know, like I said, football's my thing. In basketball, it could be the same thing. I'm going to try to be as even keel and consistent as I can, regardless of what happens, because basketball's not really my sport. No offense, Quinn. But
fine by me.
Football's my thing, and so I get overly excitable for football. Not to say that I can't get overly excited for basketball or volleyball or whatever. If it's like a game-winning thing, I mean, you know.
Well, I feel like if your son makes a big hit, like you
Yeah.
gotta get excited.
You get it.
You know?
Yeah.
Football. I mean, that's what
I'm
the
more worried
audience
about
is
what's going to
wanting
happen
hear.
if like one of them like misses a tackle.
Yeah, what do you?
Like,
That's the big thing.
That's where
Well, then that
Rick's
goes into the
going to be
coaching.
coming out.
Yeah, like if they make a big play.
I can't, you know.
That's
We're going to come to a one-on-one and
Yeah.
trip or something. Rick's might be turning off the mic.
That's
Yeah.
what the
It was like, you know, I don't know what happened there. I blinked. Missed it.
I think my mic cut out.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Okay. So, what we just witnessed, still not sure how to make it out, but yeah, I can see it. I mean, I've got the VHS tapes from junior high, but see, the home games, I was the announcer.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I can't.
Yeah.
It's protected me. You know, because otherwise I'm out there and I'm yelling. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. If I see something, if I see something and they're out of position or they're doing something and it's something that I have talked with them about and we've worked on at home, you can bet it I am screaming that they know better, and and everybody will hear me. I am very loud when I yell. Now, the away games, that was a whole different story. I was videotaping and I sat by myself on one end of the bleachers because when I would yell and scream, and I've got it on tape of me yelling and screaming. But yeah, I mean, I get overly animated. I did as a coach too. I mean, you asked their group.
Yeah.
As a coach, they heard me. I mean, I got a flag thrown on me in Letonia, and I didn't even do anything.
I didn't even do anything.
Nope.
No,
I didn't.
Typical flag guy.
Okay, so what happened was
Oh,
our
geez.
coach, they had a defensive signal, which was like a house roof, right? So the coach was throwing it up.
Yeah.
The referee thought he was calling timeout. He's like, no, I'm not calling timeout. This is what I'm doing. I'm not going like this. I'm going like this. And he wasn't even talking to the ref. And him and the ref get into it. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, look, he's doing this. He's not doing this. Now, I'm a lot calmer now than I was then. But I'm like, this is a house roof. This is a T. Learn your letters, you know, kind of a thing. And the next thing I know, they're pulling me off the field, and we got a 15-yard penalty. So
You said you didn't do anything.
I really did. In my mind, it wasn't
It's one of those
anything wrong.
blackout moments.
I was just
Just doesn't know.
explaining the difference between, you know, a house roof and the
I
letter
went
T.
I went to talk to the ref. The rest is a blur.
Yeah, he, you know, he had it out for me.
Hopefully,
I don't know
hopefully
what I ever
you're
did.
hopefully you're animated in our next segment as we close this show, because it's the G. Burbick Farms What's Your Beef segment, and we always close the show with this. And Richie, since you're a first time member, we'll start with you. What's your beef today, Rich?
My beef today. Oof, I don't know.
Getting worked in the cul-de-sac.
I don't know. I really don't have any beef today. I mean, let them go first.
That's
and I'll
unacceptable.
think.
We're coming back to you.
I'll think.
You gotta have one.
I woke
Rick.
up. It's a great day.
Let's see, what kind of
I
beef
tried
do
that
have?
too. It doesn't work.
I don't know. I gotta think.
Man, I don't have beef anything. Quinn, come on, you gotta have something.
I don't have any.
No, I'd say my beef was
I'm
the
in a great
weather
day.
this
Quinn's got
morning.
a beef
The
with
weather.
us.
Oh,
The
yeah,
weather
I'll
poured
accept-
on me this morning. You know, I had to go outside today, and I just got so soaking wet that I had to change 2 pairs of clothes just to come in here in New Jersey and everything. And that's my beef. The weather is my beef today. Pouring
Uncontrollable
rain.
things.
Uncontrollable rain.
Richie's got a bone to pick with Mother Nature.
I do. That's my beef.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you're not gonna win that battle.
Yeah, you ain't.
I want to go on a bike ride tonight. We'll see.
You guys think of something?
Yeah, I've got a
All
beef.
right.
Here you go. Here's,
All right,
here's a
Rick,
beef,
didn't
and this
take
goes
long.
back to something we talked about earlier. How come nobody thought of this until today, with the whole college coaches using us
yeah.
to scout players? How does this slip through the cracks?
I don't know.
That's my beef. I got nothing else.
I was waiting.
I mean, that's it. I mean, like I said, we touched on it earlier. That is an amazing platform that they can use.
Hey, I think I'm not going to sit here and say no one's thought about it, but I think I think you're right. It's going to be a big tool for college coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn, we've
I've
given
got
another
nothing,
two.
man. It's a great day. I had AAU last night. I'm in a great mood.
How did practice
Great
go?
day. It was great. It was a fantastic practice. Girls were ready to go.
Did you run?
Awesome. No.
No running.
Any beef
Hey,
with
you
players?
promised us on Tuesday
None.
that they were going to run.
Yeah, I decided to be nice.
Man. Quinn's never nice to us, but he's nice to his players.
You gotta be nice to the players, otherwise they won't play for you.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Ann, what do we got?
All right, my beef today. Yeah, I'm gonna say the extension of the dead period kind of made me scratch my head a little bit because you got all these sports opening back up, and now the coaches can't go watch them. I know travel is kind of a big thing, whatever, but I feel like I don't think July 31st is the end of it. I think when they recommission, I think the rumors are gonna say that they're gonna even extend it further, and I don't like it. I don't like extending the dead period. I mean, it's holding back coaches and it's making recruiting really hard. So that's my beef today on the extension of the NCAA dead period.
Now, if they keep pushing it back, I mean, that cuts into football for college and everything, right? Yeah, that's. I can't see them doing that only because of the revenue. I mean, at some point, somebody's gonna just stand up and be like, "Look, here's what we're doing." You know what I mean?
Look,
Like,
here's
yeah,
how we're doing it.
Exactly.
And it's gonna be me. It's gonna be Anthony and step up and be like, "Hey guys,
whatever it
doing
takes."
something wrong." All right, thank you so much for joining us on the Thursday edition of the Power Hour. Richie, the first time guest, thanks for coming in. I hope you enjoyed your time.
I always enjoy my
Tristan off camera had some good relief innings. Thank you for Andrew Latanzio for calling in and talking about travel softball, talking about his team a little bit. Coaches the Ohio Warriors 18U team, and they're playing this weekend at the Perfect Storm Invitational in Warren. So good luck to him, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in on the Power Hour.